Hello, everyone. I think we're live. Okay. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if this is going. Hold on a minute here. And it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our first live stream since the Stanley Cup final. This is a live stream that you guys have all been waiting for, and I do this every year. Round 1 draft coverage. I'm going to be with you guys here for the next couple of hours. We're going to see how the first round of the draft goes and who goes where, which team picks which player, and do we see some trades? We will be touching on all of this in this video here today. So just let me make sure everything is up and running and live, guys. And then we should be good to go. So that's going to be very interesting to note there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Hold on. Just going to make sure everything is up and running and good to go. And then we should be ready to talk about some things that happened earlier today and that could be happening later on today. So just give me one quick second here, folks. Let's see here. Just give me one quick second. And hold on a minute here, folks. Looks like that's good. Hold on. Okay, so it looks like it is good. So that's fantastic. Okay, now let's try and get some things going here. Okay, so that's good. So just give me one quick second here, folks. And that should be up and running. Okay, and hold on a minute here, folks. That is good. Okay, I think we are ready here now. So once again, hello everyone, welcome back. I do this every year, but we're back with round 1 draft coverage of the NHL's first round of the NHL Entry Draft. So today we're going to be touching on the round 1 of the NHL Draft. Now I've updated my score sheet a little bit based off of some of the other things I've done. I got a little bit better at live streams thanks to the playoff play-by-plays I did the last couple of months. So on the top here, we've got the team who's going to be on the clock. Now, of course, they haven't started the draft yet, but that will be the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we're going to have the first team to be on the clock. On top of that, to the sides here, to my sides, are the teams who pick first to 32nd. So on the right side or the left side, I can't remember which side it is to you guys. We're going to have picks 17 through 32. And on this side, we've got picks 1 to 16. So you guys can check those ones out. And then on the bottom, I've got the actual teams, and I will be updating that as we go along with who winds up going where and who winds up being selected. So I hope you guys like this. Leave a chat down below. I'd love your guys' thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts going into tonight's draft? What do we see? Do we see some big movement? Is it a little more of a quieter draft? Does it go faster than last year's? I'd love your guys' thoughts down in the chat below. I'm going to be watching the live stream or the live feed for the NHL draft, but I will also be keeping tabs on what else is happening from around the NHL. So I will be putting my phone here for a couple minutes, but I'll also be putting my phone here. So just to check out things here, guys. So I hope you guys are going to be all right with that. Let's look at some things that are happening right now. Let's see here. Elliot Freeman did mention a little while ago that J.J. Peterka is being dealt to the Boston Bruins from the Utah Mammoth. Now, Peterka was acquired in a massive deal last season from the Utah Mammoth. However, it never really worked out in Boston, Utah, and by the end of things, Peterka was basically a fourth liner. So it seems like Boston's going to be acquiring him. And it'll be interesting to see how that one winds up going. If it does go through, if it's for like pick 23, which Boston does have, that would leave Utah with pick 19 and 23. So I do wonder if Utah's maybe cooking something up right now. So we'll see what winds up happening. Hold on a minute here, folks. We'll talk about some of the things that happened earlier today. Also, that something that was mentioned earlier today is that the Blue Jackets are listening to offers on Zach Werenski. After a couple of days of decision-making, it sounds like Werenski is not willing to sign an extension as of next year, so it seems that the Jackets are open to listening on Zach Werenski. According to Pagnota, one of the teams that was mentioned on Werenski is San Jose, who does have the 2nd and 9th overall pick. So I do wonder if we see some sort of like a mega deal for Zach Werenski by the San Jose Sharks, but it's going to be interesting to see if that winds up going anywhere. Once again, there's no guarantees Werenski will get moved today. I think it was actually Pierre LeBrun who mentioned that. But it does sound like there's a possibility Werenski could get dealt. So very interesting to note there. I got a lot of things to talk about here with you guys. I'd love to hear guys' thoughts on the chat below on all the stuff that happened this week. We'll bring a couple of those things up here today. But I just want to really quickly go over some things that happened earlier today. So just really quickly going to put this over here so I can see and I can talk to you guys. So when it comes to signings, we saw a handful of players get signed today. Two AHL players in Ottawa, including Dijibril Turi and Samuel Bolduc, signed extensions for 1 year at $850,000 in Ottawa. So Ottawa was able to retain a little bit of AHL depth. So that's not half bad. Brett Kulak and Brent Burns are both back for the Colorado Avalanche. Burns has signed a 1 year, $850,000 deal that has up to $3 million in signing bonuses. So it's a bonus late incentive contract, but I think the 40 or 41-year-old Brent Burns is going to play one more season at the very least with the Avalanche. And on top of that, Burns is going to try and break Phil Kessel's Ironman streak this year. I think he's like 55, 57 games behind behind Phil Kessel's Ironman streak for most consecutive games played. So we'll see if Burns is going to be able to break that this year. And then they also signed Brett Kulak, who was actually one of the guys I was putting on my UFA board and actually was one of my better UFAs on the UFA market. I'm surprised he stayed, but after the clearing of the cap space from Valeri Nichushkin, they had enough cap space to keep him. So the Colorado Avalanche signed Brett Kulak to a 5-year extension with an AAV of $4.5 million. It's not a bad deal, in my opinion. I thought Kulak would have probably gone closer to $5 million on the open market. I think the 5-year term is a little bit iffy, but I don't think it's terribly bad for the Colorado Avalanche. So very interesting note there, but Brett Kulak, Brent Burns, both going to stay in the Colorado Avalanche organization. Now the Avalanche are down to having $5 million in cap space for this upcoming offseason, or the offseason we're currently on. So very interesting note there. Tony DeAngelo has also signed an extension in the New York Islanders organization. 2 years at $4.5 million. I like this move from the Islanders. DeAngelo's been a really solid 4 or 5 defenseman since arriving in New York, and he's a guy who can put up some really good numbers offensively. So all in all, Tony DeAngelo staying in the New York Islanders organization I don't think is half bad. He's a third pair defenseman, or can even play second pair minutes and puts the puck into the net, produce offensively, good things like that. So once again, it's a little bit of an overpayment. I don't think so. I think $4 million would have probably been a little bit of better for the Islanders, so $4.5 million might not have been great, but I do still think DeAngelo is going to be a really solid fit to stay in the Islanders organization, and they didn't keep him long term. So that's another positive. And then the Ottawa Senators, amidst trade speculations, have actually signed Jordan Spence. There was a lot of talk that the Senators did not want to pay Jordan Spence, so they were looking to move on from him, but they have actually extended him. Spence gets a 4-year contract extension with an AAV of $5 million. So once again, for a guy who's only 25 years old and was an RFA, I don't think that's half bad of a contract. Once again, Spence had a pretty solid season, almost hitting 30 points in 70 games last year. I think he can peak out at like 40, 45 points a season. So, I don't think this is a terrible contract. And if Spence is able to continue to play top 4 minutes for the Ottawa Senators, I think that's going to be a fantastic addition there for the Ottawa Senators instead of moving on from him, keeping Spence on the blue line. So I think the Sens blue line is pretty much set. You got Shabbat, you got Sanderson, you got Zub, you've got Spence now, you got Yakimchuk weighing in the wings, you still got Clevin and Manipalo. So, unless they move out another defenseman, I really do not believe that the Senators are going to be doing very much here. When it comes to the trades that we saw earlier today, we've only seen 4 officially confirmed trades so far today. Earlier today, we saw a prospect swap between the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers, as the New York Rangers dealt Brett Berard to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for William Trudeau. So this is a very interesting swap. I do think the Habs come out on top in this deal, because I do think Berard, he was a little bit he was buried in the New York Rangers organization, never really got that playing time that he really liked. So him falling down the depth chart really just led the Rangers to wanting to move him. So I think Berard in a 4th line role could be a really solid addition there for the Montreal Canadiens. And once again, Trudeau's no slouch. He's a little bit younger, I think, than Berard is. So maybe eventually he could be a 3rd pair defenseman, but it's not a terrible contract there for the New York Rangers to acquire. Then we saw Ottawa make 2 very small deals. They acquired Sammy Erston from the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 2027 5th-round pick, and Andrei Burakovsky from the Chicago Blackhawks for a 2027 6th-round pick. So Ottawa's added Erston and Burakovsky. Erston is going to need an extension. He is a RFA. I'm not sure if they'll even qualify him or not, but Erston has a 3rd string I think could be really solid, which it sounds like he might be in Ottawa. So very interesting note there, but it sounds like the Ottawa Senators are going to maybe try and sign Erston to be their 3rd string, or maybe even their backup. So very interesting note there. It's only for a 5th-round pick, so it's not a bad contract there for the Sens. And then they acquired Andrei Burakovsky for a 6th-round pick from the Blackhawks. Now it's a little bit of a puzzling move for both sides. The Hawks really need to try and start going for it. So moving off a player who actually had 30 points in last year's draft or in last year's season for a 6th-round pick is a little bit confusing, but it does free up a little bit more cap space for the Hawks. When it comes to the Ottawa Senators, they don't have a ton of cap space now, only $9 million after that deal. So to pick up a third liner who's a pretty good skater, mind you, but didn't have a really good season the last couple of years is once again a little bit confusing. So I do wonder if Ottawa's maybe gearing up for like a bigger move and they acquire Burakovsky maybe to replace a guy like Warren Fogle or Ridley Gregg if they tried to move on from one of those guys. So it will be very interesting to note there, but the Sens made 2 moves earlier today, acquiring Burakovsky and Urson from the Hawks and the Leafs for a 6th and 5th round pick in 2027. And the biggest deal so far that has been confirmed was in the Buffalo Sabres organization as they acquired Olen Zellweger from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Anton Wahlberg and a 2nd round pick in 2026. Now, it's a good move for the Sabres, and it's a confusing move for the Sabres as well. For the Sabres, once again, a 2nd-round pick in Wahlberg is not too bad for them. They're going for it. They want to try and improve, so moving a pick and a prospect is not anything too shabby. When it comes to acquiring Olen Zellweger, he's a really good defenseman, sort of got boxed down in Anaheim towards the end of the season and in the postseason last year, but he's still a really solid defenseman in my opinion, and I think could work in like a second-pair role. Now, the only problem is the Sabres have a ton of left-handed defensemen, and Zellweger is like a left-handed defenseman, and Zellweger is in need of a new contract. So once again, could he replace some of the loss of Bowen Byram? I think so, but it's probably going to cost like $5 to $6 million. I think the Sabres only have like $14 million left. So it really handicapped the Sabres. Plus, he's another left-handed defenseman. I think Power, Dahlin, and Samuelson are all lefties as well. So it's a very confusing move in some sense, but I can see why the Buffalo Sabres would want to try and go after Olen Zellweger. So very interesting to note there. I think the draft stuff has started, so let's just really quickly go over here. We'll go back and check if there's any news on those other trades that have been happening over the past little while. So just give me one quick second here, guys. It looks like the draft hasn't officially started yet, so I'm going to keep tabs on that. Once again, the Maple Leafs are going to be the first team on the clock, and then we'll try and switch it up as we go along. So once again, I do apologize for anything. The LA Kings, according to Chris Johnston, have just signed Brandt Clarke. A very interesting deal here. It's 5 years at $7.4 million. So once again, Clarke is obviously the best offensive defenseman on the Kings lineup at this point in time. You still have Drew Doughty, but he's getting up there in age. So I don't know what to make of this extension. 5 years isn't terrible at $7.4 million. And once again, with all the contracts these defensemen have been getting over the past little while, I don't think it's a terrible contract there for Los Angeles. So either way, good stuff there from Brandt Clarke as he has signed an extension in the LA Kings organization. So that's a pretty good pickup here. So let's see what else is happening. Dave Pagnotta a couple minutes ago recently mentioned that Edmonton continues to explore a trade for Nurse. Apparently Anaheim is a team who's expressed interest in Nurse. So we'll see if that one winds up getting happening. It sounded like Nurse only wanted to go to Los Angeles if the Oilers were going to deal in West. So that's a little bit interesting. Let's see here if there's anything else. Once again, we just saw some very interesting news yesterday. I'll touch on that in a minute, just seeing if there is anything else. According to a couple of other reports, it sounds like Hellebuyck's the ask on Hellebuyck by the Winnipeg Jets might be a little bit too rich for Carolina. So very interesting to note there. Let's see what else is happening here. Yeah, so it seems like the only thing that's happened really in the past couple of minutes is that Brandt Clarke has signed a 5-year extension at a $7.4 million AAV to remain in Los Angeles. So that's not a bad pickup here. Once again, it looks like Gary Bettman is out there talking, so we are just about to good to go. Hello, Marshall. Love to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all the Caps moves. Like, are you surprised that the Caps have been able to be doing some really good things? Like, are you happy that Kyrou got acquired? Tuck, like that top six is looking really good. If they add Ovechkin, Capitals, they're going to be a problem in the Eastern Conference next year. Like, I could definitely see the Capitals be like a team who finishes second in the Metro Division, maybe even gives the Carolina Hurricanes a run for their money, but they are definitely separating themselves from the pack, in my opinion, with all the moves they made earlier this week. So, very interesting note there. A couple things that happened late last night that I don't think it touched on any of the videos I recently posted. Declan Chisholm was traded by the New Jersey Devils, or by the Washington Capitals, to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 4th-round pick, so the Devils got some added blue line help after trading Simon Nemec. And the Caps were able to acquire draft picks, so very interesting to note there. And then we got some massive news last night. I was going to post it in a video. I never got it off in time for the start of the live stream, so we'll see if I do wind up posting it afterwards. But the Dallas Stars apparently tried to sign Jason Robertson to an 8-year extension with an AV of $12 million. Robertson rejected that, so they went to start shopping him on the market. They had a deal in place with the Seattle Kraken in exchange for 7th overall and a couple of other things. And that never got done because Jason Robertson rejected a contract extension that he would have signed in Seattle at 8 years at $15 million. I know a lot of teams do not want to go to the Seattle Kraken right now, but that is absurd. And then there was a report that came out a little bit later saying that the St. Louis Blues were putting together a package involving multiple first-round picks, but they couldn't get a trade done because Jason Robertson did not want to go to the St. Louis Blues. So, this is crazy with Robertson over the past 24 hours. I do not know what's going to happen with him. He's going to be very interesting to watch over the next couple of hours. Once again, I think he wants to stay in Dallas, but he wants a $14-15 million deal from the Stars, and the Stars aren't having it. They do not have that sort of cap space. So, I don't know what Dallas is going to do here, and I don't know if there's any other team out there who would pay him $14 million. No offense. He's a good player, and I think he's worth around Rantanen money, maybe just a little bit less, but I do not believe Robertson is worth $13, $14, $15 million. So that's a very interesting situation that we're going to have to watch out for. I do agree Washington probably does need some defensive help. Once again, they just moved Chisholm to New Jersey. Once again, they did a couple of other things with their defense too. So I could definitely see maybe add a second pair of right shot defenseman just to really sort of round out that defense. But Washington's making some really good improvements in my opinion. I really do like what they've been doing. So very interesting to note there. It'll be interesting to note. Once again, it'll be very interesting to see. I'll just double check some of the updates here on if anything else is happening. Once again, of course, I just talked to you guys, Brant Clark. According to Pagnota, more on the Nurse stuff, which it sounded like Anaheim is interested, according to David Pagnota, on Darnell Nurse. He says that he knows Pittsburgh, LA, and Philly are on his trade list. And apparently, according to Pagnota, Boston's on the trade list as well for Darnell Nurse. So, very interesting note, there's some Nurse movement potentially happening tonight. We will have to wait and see, but it does seem like Nurse is being talked about. Boston and Utah are reportedly waiting on the deal for JJ Peterka. So that's very interesting to note there. If you guys are just joining us, some of the bigger news that's happened over the past hour or two is that the Bruins and the Mammoth have a deal in place for JJ Peterka. Do not know any of the things that are going back to Utah in some sort of a deal. Peterka was acquired last year in the offseason from the Buffalo Sabres. Never worked out, was a bomb 6 forward in the playoffs, and he's being paid $7 million, so the Mammoths don't really want that dead cap space being used on the bottom 6, so it seems like he's going to go to Boston. Very interesting connection here, but Peterka, who's a German, is going to play for a German head coach in Marco Sturm, so very interesting to know there. Not exactly sure what the return is, but it definitely does seem like the Boston Bruins are going to be acquiring JJ Peterka, so very interesting to know there. And then it also does sound like, according to Pierre LeBrun, Zach Werenski is starting to be shopped by the Columbus Blue Jackets. So very interesting to note there. I am not exactly sure what winds up happening here. It sounds like they're not completely just going to deal him tonight. It's not a guarantee by any means, but they are listening to offers, and it sounds like Werenski does not want to sign in Columbus long term. So that could be a really bad blow there for the Jackets. If it's not for Werenski over the past couple of years, I don't think they are that close to the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting to see exactly what winds up happening here. According to Emily Kaplan, the return for Utah in the Peterka deal is apparently multiple first-round picks. So I wonder if the Bruins are moving this year's and next year's first-round pick for JJ Peterka. That'll be interesting to note there. So it'll be very interesting to note there. Teams to keep an eye on tonight. The Sharks, they have 3 picks. That's 2, 9, and 27. I do fully expect them to use 2, but it'll be very interesting to see what they do with 9 and 27. The Blues are a team that I'm going to be keeping an eye on because the St. Louis Blues have, I think, 4 first-round picks. So it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening with St. Louis. I do wonder about Buffalo with having pick 4 and pick 20. I do wonder about Ottawa still having pick 25, maybe wanting to try and get another forward upgrade. So it will be very interesting to note there. We are now in the countdown. The Maple Leafs are on the clock as the clock is ticking down. So, like I said, I will be changing the graphic as we go. So it'll be very interesting to see how this winds up going. Once again, love to hear all of your guys' thoughts in the chat below. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Once again, a lot of people are expecting this to be Gavin McKenna. So it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening here. Once again, the Leafs are on the clock. They have a minute and 50 seconds here to pick their player, and then we'll go to the next one. So we'll be waiting and seeing. Once again, this draft is being held in Buffalo, so I'm sure there's a lot of Leaf fans in there. Once again, this is the third time in franchise history the Leafs are selecting first overall. The other two times were 1985 Wendell Clark and 10 years ago when they selected Austin Matthews. So very interesting to know there. Once again, they got a minute and a half left to pick, and then they're going to make the decision. Once again, I'm going to try and do a couple of things here to try and make it a little more entertaining for you guys. Once again, they're just zooming in on McKenna on the draft feed right now. I do expect him to go first overall to the Toronto Maple Leafs, so we shall wait and see what winds up happening here. Once again, if you're just joining us, Peterka seems like he's going to Boston. The Blue Jackets are shopping Zach Werenski, and there's a whole bunch of potential moves that we could be seeing later today. On top of that, Toronto is on the clock right now, and they currently have pick number 1. So we shall see exactly what ends up happening. They got just over a minute here to pick, and then they've got to make a decision. So once again, we shall see what ends up happening here. I do hope that it is a little bit quicker than it was last year. Once again, last year was very, very tiring. It went over 3 hours, so it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening here. Once again, Bettman is looking like he's going to the podium to announce the selection. Actually, let me just turn on captioning here. Hold on a minute here, folks. That should be good. Yes, okay. Once again, the commissioner's out there. I'm pretty sure they're booing him at this point in time. So let's see exactly what ends up happening. Bettman is talking. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Buffalo is once again the picks in Buffalo, but here comes the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll see who the Maple Leafs select with that first overall pick. Let's see. Hold on a minute here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see exactly what's going to happen here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, Gary Bettman is just about to announce the pick. This is first overall for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once again, they have apparently brought in Justin Bieber to announce the pick, so very interesting to know there. And we shall see who the Maple Leafs select first overall. I'm guessing this McKenna. Once again, such an elite talent, really good winger, going to add another dynamic option to that offense. I just really don't think they can go anywhere else. So I think the pick is in now, so it's going to be the Buffalo Sabres on the clock now, so I'll just switch that out. Just give me one quick second here, or actually it's the San Jose Sharks who are on the clock. So let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just give me one quick second here to see if I can find the Sharks. Give me one quick second here. Let's see. The San Jose Sharks should be here somewhere. That's Vegas, Vancouver, Seattle, San Jose. I think. Okay, yes. So that is good. Let's see. And once again, they're just talking still, so you are not missing a thing. San Jose Sharks are just about to be on the clock. So very interesting to note there. Once again, Justin Bieber is on the stage right now announcing the draft pick for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let's see exactly what winds up happening. And yep, it's Gavin McKenna. No surprise there, but McKenna is taken first overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs. What a very good selection here for the Maple Leafs. I don't think this is too much of a surprise. McKenna is a very fantastic player. He was a very good superstar over the past couple of years, playing in juniors, playing in college, had some really good point totals for the now Toronto Maple Leafs prospect. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's just really quickly get some things here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Pick 2 is on the clock, so the Sharks are now on the clock. So McKenna goes to Toronto this past year. He wound up... Hold on a minute here, folks. Let me just see if I can get his stats. Hold on a minute here. Okay, so there we are. That should be a little bit better. So Gavin McKenna goes first overall. He had 15 goals, 51 points in 35 NCAA games. He is a left winger. He's going to add another dynamic piece to that offense. So that's really good stuff there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once again, add him to an offense that already has Nyes and Nylander and Tavares. So very interesting note there. It's not too surprising here that the Leafs do wind up going Gavin McKenna, and now McKenna is going to be the first overall selection in the 2026 draft. So hold on a minute here, folks. The Sharks, I think, are on the clock now. Let me just see if there's any sort of updates here. JJ Peterka has been dealt to Boston. We've already talked about that. Apparently, the picks going to Utah are Florida's first round projected pick in 2028 and the 2026 first. So that seems what's going to Utah. So very interesting to know there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. And I think we're going to move this back here. Okay, once again, so let me just change this up here. The slideshow should read Gavin McKenna now. Okay, so let's see. Leafs. Left winger, Gavin McKenna. So that is now who's gone to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's really good stuff there. Once again, the second overall pick is now going to be on the clock as the San Jose Sharks are looking who they select. So with McKenna now off the board, there's no chance of the Sharks getting McKenna. So I do fully believe that the Sharks go Ivar Stenberg here. He's a really solid player. So I do think he'll be taken here from the San Jose Sharks. Once again, there's been a lot of speculation. Could the Sharks go Chase Reid? Could they go Carson Carels, Keaton Bierhoff? So I'm not exactly sure who they take, but my gut is telling me, like it has been telling me in my mock drafts over the past couple of years or the past couple of weeks, that Ivar Stenberg is going to be going second overall to the San Jose Sharks. So very interesting to note there. Once again, Toronto has used the first overall selection to take Gavin McKenna. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. So yes, McKenna is now first overall in this year's draft class. So very interesting note there. I'll let you guys thoughts down below on what you think of McKenna going to Toronto. It was pretty much expected, but I would love you guys thoughts down in the chat below if you guys think the McKenna pick was right for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if you guys think they could do something else in the next couple of drafts. Once again, I don't think they have another first pick for a couple of rounds. So very interesting to know there, but Toronto uses first overall to take Gavin McKenna. So very interesting to know there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's go say this. Peterka is being dealt right now to the Bruins. So that's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening here. But Peterka is being dealt to the Boston Bruins. Once again, it sounds like there's a 2026 first and a 2028 first being dealt to Utah as part of that deal. So that's very interesting to note there. They're just talking to Gavin McKenna now. So that's very interesting to note there. Once again, hopefully this thing doesn't go too long. Looks like the pick was taken a little bit quicker. So once again, McKenna is the first overall pick. It's Toronto, so the first one's always going to be a little bit longer. But let's see if we can hurry this up a lot faster than last year. Because if you guys remember last year's stream, it was a long stream. So we'll see if something winds up happening here. We'll see if there's any other top 10 picks. Like we've already seen a couple of top 10 picks be dealt in the past week as the Buffalo Sabres acquired pick 4 from the Chicago Blackhawks in the Byram deal, which was a little bit crazy given the fact that the Hawks gave up the 4th overall pick for Byram. So the Sabres now have the 4th overall pick. Yeah, I know it is nice for Utah getting multiple firsts. I do wonder if the Utah Mammoths have something in store, Marshall, because they now have pick 19, pick 23, and they just made the playoffs last year. I do feel that Colorado and Dallas are both poised for a little bit of a regression step. Maybe not missing the playoffs, but like Dallas is going to have a trouble building their team with Robertson signed, or if they don't sign Robertson, they're going to be missing him dearly. And then the Avalanche don't have too much cap space. They subtracted a whole bunch off the roster and are basically just able to keep most of their team around. So like I feel like the Avalanche and the Stars are poised for a step back. I think the Wild are poised for a step forward, and I think Utah's also poised for a step forward. So I do wonder if they may package a couple of picks. Like they should now have pick 23, which as you can see on my screen here, the Bruins currently do have pick 23 that will be going to Utah. So that'll be very interesting to note there. And then the Utah Mammoths also have have, as you can see here, pick 19. So I do wonder if they maybe try and move some things around. Once again, they haven't mentioned, as they have been in on Robertson, they haven't mentioned to be in on, once again, they were on Robert Thomas at the deadline, but that's not going to happen anymore. I do wonder if there's a couple of other ones. And yeah, I agree. Stenberg, just pick Stenberg for San Jose. Once again, they are now on the clock officially, so we'll be seeing what happens here at second overall for the San Jose Sharks. Like I said, there's been a lot of mock drafts. Could they go after Reid? Could they go after Carels? Could they go after a couple of other guys? But I really do believe they should go after Stenberg. The thought of having Stenberg was a team that already had Celebrini and Smith and Chernyshov and Toffoli. That forward group next year will be killer. So once again, I do think the San Jose Sharks should be going after Stenberg here, especially after moving William Eklund a couple days ago. I think that William Eklund really did secure them going after Stenberg here. So it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening. Once again, McKenna's going to be a very fantastic fit in Toronto. Just give me one quick sec here, guys. I want to just double check to make sure everything is still running all right. So just give me one quick second here, folks. Hold on a minute here. Just going to double check, make sure everything is all right. Just give me one quick second here, folks. Hold on a minute here. Okay, so looks like everything's still going fine. So just give me one quick second here. I'm just going to really quickly double check and make sure there's nothing else going on right now taking place. And we'll see if there's anything else that winds up happening. So just give me one quick second here, folks. Let me just double check and make sure that my live stream hasn't. I thought it glitched for a second. Just want to double check, make sure everything is still fine on my end. So just give me one quick second here, folks, and we'll see if we are able to get this done. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just give me one quick second, and that should be good. Okay. Now, let's see if there's any sort of big pieces of news. So let's see here. Once again, it looks like it's Peterka for 2 first-round picks. Brent Clark signed 4 years at $7.4 million, which is not a bad contract, in my opinion, for Los Angeles. And, yeah, let's see. It doesn't seem like anything else is happening at this current point in time. So let's go back to the live stream and see who San Jose is currently projected to select. Once again, I think the pick is very close to being in. So currently the San Jose Sharks are on the clock, as you can see above. They have the second overall pick. Once again, they won one of the lottery spots, jumped up from number 9 to number 2. So let's see if they are able to take Stenberg here at second overall. So once again, 3, 2, 1. The pick is in for the San Jose Sharks. So that is just about to be announced. We will switch the on-the-clock thing to the Chicago Blackhawks now. So let's just do that. Or actually, no, it's the Vancouver Canucks who are next. So just give me one quick second here, folks. I'm just going to switch this up. Hold on a minute here, folks. So it's the Canucks. So let's see. Hold on a minute here. Let me try and find my on-the-clock thing for the Canucks. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just give me one quick second. And I think this one's the Canucks. Yes, it is. Okay, so the Canucks are now going to be on the clock. San Jose's pick is in. So we shall see what winds up happening with the Sharks pick, but the Canucks are now going to be picking next. So that's going to be very interesting to note there. Once again, I do wonder what the Canucks are going to be doing after the San Jose Sharks. So we'll see exactly what winds up happening. The Sharks pick is in. Looks like they're just about to go to the podium here to see who winds up being selected with the second overall pick. Yep, they're going to the podium. Gary Bettman looks like he's about to call up the San Jose Sharks. So let's see if there's maybe some sort of like a big trade or something. I highly doubt the Sharks move pick number 2, but we'll see. Let's see here. Once again, just got to put back on closed captioning. Let's see. Making the second selection is the San Jose Sharks. So very interesting to note there. Once again, the Sharks have picked high in recent drafts. I think 3 years ago they picked Celebrini, or actually it was 2 years ago now. They also picked Will Smith recently in the top 5. They picked last year Michael Misa in the top 5, so they have had a couple of very recent top 5 selections. And now the San Jose Sharks are going to be picking second overall here. So we shall see exactly what winds up happening for the San Jose Sharks. Do they go Stenberg? Do they go defenseman? Do they go off the board, maybe pick someone else that no one's expecting? I do hope that they pick Stenberg, because the Stenberg-Celebrini tandem podium on the forward group would be great. And I think I would love that for a team who's never won a Stanley Cup. I love seeing teams who've never won a Stanley Cup do really good. Stenberg, I think, gives the San Jose Sharks that option. So let's see here who the San Jose Sharks wind up picking here with the second overall pick. Once again, they're just talking on the podium. So let's see. With the second overall pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, the Sharks are proud to select Frölunda Ivar Stenberg. Yes, to all those people who said the Sharks would go for the defenseman, I proved you all wrong. My picks were right, and the San Jose Sharks at second overall take Ivar Stenberg. You don't pass up talent like this. This dude is a fantastic hockey player. He's been playing over with Sweden, I think, at the hockey championships in the juniors. Like, this dude is a performer. He's a fantastic player. I think he's NHL ready. I would not be one bit surprised if he made the roster out of training camp. I think Stenberg could be a lethal force for the San Jose Sharks. Put him in the top six with guys like Misa and Toffoli and Celebrini. I could see him being the Calder favorite for going into the NHL season. Like, I could see Stenberg playing with Celebrini, put up like 60, 70 points, like 20, 25 goals. Stenberg is going to be such a dynamic forward for the San Jose Sharks. This is a really good pickup here for San Jose. So really good stuff there for the Sharks, as we are going to put Stenberg here. Once again, I think Stenberg's a winger too. Yes. So Stenberg, let's see, left winger, Ivar Stenberg is going to the San Jose Sharks. So really good stuff there for the Sharks, as they are taking Ivar Stenberg second overall. So really solid stuff there from the Sharks, as they nab Stenberg with the second overall pick. Once again, yeah, I do wonder what the Sharks do with 9-27. I said they were one of my interesting teams entering the draft, Marshall. I do wonder if they try and trade 9-27 or 9 or 27 for something. They really could use NHL help right now, so that's why I do believe the Sharks should move someone. But yeah, I think this dude's a This dude's a performer. He's going to be a really solid player. I could see him as peak at like 90 to 100 points at the NHL level. He's going to be a great winger long-term for Celebrini, and you just don't pass up talent like this. Like, Stenberg's going to be great. So I love that the Sharks did to go with this. Once again, I think long-term this is going to be a great pickup here, and even though they don't go defense, they could go with the defenseman if they keep the 9th overall pick. But yeah, this is just a really great pick in my opinion for the San Jose Sharks. So really good stuff there. Once again, highest drafted players from Sweden in NHL history. Dahlin and Matt Sundin were the first overall picks, and then Daniel Sedin, Victor Hedman, Gabriel Landeskog, Leo Carlson, and now Ivar Stenberg were picked second overall. So one of the highest ever taken Sweden players in NHL history. So very good stuff there. But Ivar Stenberg has not fallen, and he's going to the San Jose Sharks. So I love this. Yeah, Celebrini and him are going to cause problems. Maybe not next year, because Stenberg will be a rookie, but like, as after next year, like that duel is going to be stellar. Like, the Sharks are building something special. Like, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe they can probably win a Stanley Cup. Like, the Sharks franchise has never had very much success, except for the early 2010 years when they were a pest to play against and even made it to the Cup final in 2016. But I think this team is going to be a whole bunch different. And I think as early as next year, this team, the San Jose Sharks, could be like third, maybe even second in the Pacific Division, given how bad that Pacific Division was last year. So very interesting note there. Now we go over to the Vancouver Canucks. Now this is where it starts to get interesting, because for the longest time we had heard Vancouver be mocked to Caleb Malhotra. And all of my mock drafts, I have linked Malhotra to the Vancouver Canucks. Once again, Manny Malhotra is now their head coach. He's his dad. So there's a lot of connections there. But over the past week and a half, I've started to hear that the Vancouver Canucks might not be as high on Malhotra and might actually try and go after one of the defensemen. So that's going to be very interesting to note there. Once again, they have a minute left to pick. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening here with the Canucks. I do still think they will go Caleb Malhotra because of all of the connections, but I did start to hear some rumblings that they might go in a different direction. So very interesting to note there. Once again, just really quickly here, recapping some things. Stenberg this past year played in the SHL. where he put up, let's just double check this here. He put up this past year 11 goals and 33 points in 43 games. So, like, he had one of the best pre-draft seasons by a SHL player in, like, NHL history. So, like, Stenberg's really good, and that's going to be a very fantastic pickup here for the San Jose Sharks. So, enough about the Sharks. Let's go over to the Canucks, who now are on the clock. So let's see exactly what ends up happening here. Just double checking Twitter just to make sure there's nothing else. So the full trade is now official. So the Boston Bruins have acquired J.J. Peterka from the Utah Mammoth in exchange for the 23rd overall pick in tonight's draft and a 2028 first-round pick, which is Florida's, that's top 10 protected. So the Mammoth have now acquired 2 extra first-round picks. So that's very interesting to note there. What? Darren Dreger is mentioning the Rangers have traded for Pavel Dorofeev. And that's what Darren Dreger is mentioning right now. Very, very interesting if this is true. It sounds like maybe Pavel Dorofeev is going to the New York Rangers. If that's true, that's a terrible move there from the Knights. Oh boy, I don't hope that they mess this up. Once again, as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, that's not good if they do end up trading him. The Canucks are making their selection. So let's see here. Once again, I'll touch more on the Dorofievs thing in a minute. Once again, the Canucks are picking right now at 3rd overall. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see who the Canucks go after. Once again, they're just announcing the pick. I do hope it's Malhotra. I've been picking him there. So let's see if Malhotra does wind up going there. With a 3rd overall pick, it's Caleb Malhotra. I'm 3 for 3 so far. Thank goodness. Once again, Caleb Malhotra, a really solid center. Hold on a minute here, folks. I'll talk about Malhotra in just a second. I just got to change this over here to the Buffalo Sabres. Just give me one quick second here, folks. And that should be Buffalo. Yes, so the Buffalo Sabres now on the clock. They have pick number 4. So the Sabres now on the clock. But yes, so no surprise there, at least in my opinion. I know there was some talk about maybe them going defenseman, but Caleb Malhotra is a Vancouver Canuck. So after hiring his dad a couple of weeks ago, the Vancouver Canucks select Caleb Malhotra 4th overall. So a really solid pickup here for the Vancouver Canucks, as it seems like that is a really solid addition here for Vancouver. Once again, I think Malhotra long-term has the potential to be a really solid first-line center, maybe a little more suited to be a second-line center, especially if they do want it moving off of Elias Pettersson the next year or two. I think the Canucks have a future 1-2 punch down the middle of Braden Coots and Caleb Malhotra, which would be scary for a lot of teams to play against. Once again, I don't think Malhotra probably makes the NHL team this year, especially with the fact that they're probably going to be pretty bad. But maybe next year, I do think Malhotra has a shot to make the NHL lineup. So very interesting to note there. He's going to go play with the team that his dad's now head coaching. So once again, really solid pickup there. I really do like this addition here from the Canucks. Let's just really quickly look at a couple of stats for Caleb Malhotra. Once again, not too surprising here. He put up 29 goals and 84 points in 67 games this past year, so not too shabby. He's a center. He shoots left. He's 6'2", so a little bit of a bigger person, but this is a really good pickup here for the Vancouver Canucks. So after hiring Manny Malhotra to be their head coach, they have now drafted his son 3rd overall in the NHL Draft. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. What is happening with Pavel Dorofeev, because I need to figure out what the heck is happening there. Not surprising here, but now the Sabres are on the clock. We'll touch on them in a second. Hold on a minute here. It seems like Dorofeev is being dealt to the New York Rangers. So no word on the return yet, but Darren Dreger has mentioned that Dorofeev is heading to New York. So that's a little bit of a surprising one here. So we'll see what the return is for Vegas. I'm a Knights fan. I was hoping they would sign Dorofeev long term. So yeah, that's a little bit of a heartbreaker in my opinion that the Vegas Golden Knights have just traded Dorofeev. So I don't know exactly what they're doing here. Maybe for Lafreniere, maybe that could be a really good move there for the New York. I don't know what the Rangers are doing here either. Like, they're a team who needs to rebuild. Why are they acquiring Pavel Dorofeev? I don't know what direction the New York Rangers are going in. Quite honestly, they are a little bit all over the place because they last night were mentioned to be in on Mason McTavish. So I do not know what direction that team is going in right now. But interesting note there. I will put Caleb Malhotra now in my little thing on the bottom. So just give me one quick second here, folks. We're going to put center Caleb Malhotra here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Center Caleb Malhotra. So now Malhotra is in Vancouver. So very interesting to know there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just going to try and change some things up to fit it all in. Just give me one quick second here, folks. Let's move this to a little bit smaller so it's a little bit easier to see. Hold on a minute here, folks. I'm just going to really quickly fix this. That should be good. Okay, now just give me one quick second so I can readjust this. Okay, that should be good. So now Caleb Malhotra is taken by the Vancouver Canucks. So very interesting to know there. Canucks do wind up taking Caleb Malhotra at third overall. Like I said, long term, I do think he's going to be a really solid two-way sort of for a center, maybe a guy who can play top line minutes, second line minutes. I really do think he's going to be a really solid fit here for the Vancouver Canucks long term. So it will be very interesting to see exactly what winds up happening here. But yeah, I just think that's a really good fit for the Canucks. And I do think Malhotra is probably better than any of the defensemen they could go. So now we've got the Buffalo Sabres on the clock. And this is going to be very interesting. This is the pick they got in the Bowen Byram deal a couple of days ago. So they got the pick from Bowen Byram, which is a surprise in and of itself that the Hawks were even willing to move that fourth overall pick. So I do wonder who they go after here. Like, there's been a lot of talk that they want to go for a center, so they go after Lawrence or Bjorck, which is what I was hearing in my last mock draft. I did mock Tynan Lawrence to go to the Buffalo Sabres at fourth overall. So I do wonder if they maybe try and move him there. Maybe Bjorck, because that was another name that I was hearing Buffalo could have some interest in. If not Bjorck, or if not Malhotra, or if not Lawrence, do they go defenseman after trading Bowen Byram? Do they go after a Carels or a Reid or a Vierhoff or a Smiths? So it'll be very interesting to know there. But yeah, very interesting stuff here to see what the Buffalo Sabres currently do. It'll be very interesting to see which way they do wind up going. We are still having the Buffalo Sabres on the clock, so you guys are not missing a thing. And when we do get more info, I will update you on the Pavel Dorofeyev deal to the New York Rangers, which is a little bit of a surprise. So very interesting to know there. Once again, if you guys are just joining us, the Vancouver Canucks have acquired Caleb Malhotra, the Sharks have taken Ivar Stenberg, and the Maple Leafs have taken Gavin McKenna. There's 45 seconds left on the clock here for the Buffalo Sabres at fourth overall. So it looks like it is going a little bit quicker than last year, which is very good news. Once again, after the first overall pick was taken, it took a little bit of time there. Slowly, it was able to pick up a little bit recently. So it does seem like it's a little bit faster than last year, which is a really good thing. Once again, if you're just joining us here, we've seen a couple of trades earlier today. Biggest one was the deal that happened just about an hour ago, and that is that J.J. Peterka was dealt by the Utah Mammoth after one season in Utah to the Boston Bruins in exchange for the 23rd overall pick in tonight's draft and a 2028 first-round pick that's top 10 protected from Florida. So very interesting to note there. The pick is in for the Buffalo Sabres. So the next team is going to be the New York Rangers. So let me change that up. Hold on a minute here, folks. They're just about to announce the pick. So let's go here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if I can find the Rangers. That should be Washington, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, NYR. So that should be the Rangers. And now they are on the clock with the fifth overall pick. So very interesting to note there. Once again, a couple of people are out here for the Buffalo Sabres to announce this draft pick. So very interesting to note there. So the selection isn't. So they didn't trade the fourth overall pick, which a lot of people were wondering they would do. I do wonder what they do with the 20th overall pick. But the fourth overall pick, the Sabres are going to hold on to. So that's not a bad pickup here for Buffalo, and we shall see exactly who they take. I'm saying Lawrence. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Bjorck. Maybe they go defenseman, but I think it's most likely going to be Lawrence or Bjorck. So it'll be very interesting to see who they wind up taking. Once again, I do think adding Lawrence and Bjorck will be very smart here for the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll just really quickly check in here on who they take fourth overall. So very interesting to note there. Let's see exactly what ends up happening here. And let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Buffalo Sabres are proud to select Daxon Rudolph. Really? Oh my gosh, I was not expecting Rudolph to go this high. I had Rudolph in my most recent mock draft last night that I took on Wednesday. I had Rudolph going in the early portion of the 10s. Like, I think I had Rudolph projected to go to National at 10. So, like, I was not expecting this whatsoever. I thought Tynan, Lawrence, maybe Bjorck. The fact that they go Rudolph is crazy. So very interesting to note there, but that's one I was not expecting. Right shot defenseman Daxon Rudolph. We'll talk about him in just a couple of seconds here. Let me put him into the thing at the very bottom here. So he is a right shot defenseman, and it is Daxon Rudolph. So very interesting to note there, but Rudolph is now the pick for the Buffalo Sabres. Once again, not a bad pick in here, in my opinion. Rudolph, I thought, was probably like the third or fourth best defenseman in this draft. I thought guys like Bjorck, Reid, Carels were better. So the fact that he goes first in this draft as a defenseman is quite surprising. Once again, Buffalo needs right-handed defenseman. Last draft, they had the 8th overall pick. They took Radimurka, right shot defenseman. This year, they take right shot defenseman Daxon Rudolph. Now, once again, Carels is a lefty, Smith is a lefty. I think they were cut. Veerhoff's a lefty, or actually I think Veerhoff's a righty. So the fact that they picked Rudolph over Veerhoff and Reid, who are both right shot defensemen, is a little bit surprising in my opinion. I was not expecting this one. This one goes out of left field in my opinion. But Buffalo does take Daxon Rudolph 4th overall. So let's get some info on Daxon Rudolph. Rudolph is a right shot defenseman, spent this past year in Prince Albert. He's 6'3", 205 pounds, and had 28 goals and 78 points in 68 games. So like I said, not a bad pick. A little bit of a surpriser in my opinion, but once again, like a couple of years ago, Beckett Seneca was a surprise at 3rd overall, and look how good he's doing. So maybe Buffalo knows something that a lot of other people don't. And once again, like I said, I think Rudolph in the next year or two could be an NHL defenseman. And once again, he's a big defenseman. You got Power, you've got Dahlin, you've got Samuelson, you just acquired Zellweger, you've got Rudolph, you've got Murka. The Buffalo Sabres have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the blue line. They have a loaded amount of prospects. Once again, I think Murka could potentially come into the NHL this year. I think Rudolph maybe next year. Like, this is going to be a stacked Sabres group in the next couple of years. Like, add him, have him play with a guy like Dahlin or Power. Like, that's just going to be lethal for the Buffalo Sabres. So a little bit off the board pick in my opinion, but Daxon Rudolph is now a Buffalo Sabre at 4th overall. So a little bit of a surprise in my opinion. Let's see here. Apparently, the Rangers are sending pick 26, a top 10 protected 2028 first-round pick, and a third-round pick to the Vegas Golden Knights for Pavel Dorofeev. So 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick for Dorofeev. So, oh my gosh, that's very interesting. Vegas now has pick 26. I wonder what they do with that. They have an extra pick in 2028. Do they go after Dylan Larkin? Is that a possibility? Once again, the Rangers are a team who has a whole bunch of cap space, so them paying Peterka like $8 to $9 million, I don't think will be too surprising. I do think Dorofeev is going to be a really solid goal scorer for the New York Rangers, so we'll get info on that deal in just a second here, folks. Just double checking here. So let's see. Once again, Dorofeev was, I think, a 4th or 5th round pick a couple of years ago. He's been developed into a really stellar goal scorer for the Knights. He was an RFA. The Knights only have about $12 million in cap space, so there was a lot of talk. Would they move Dorofeev? Would they try and maybe do some other things with Dorofeev? But it seems that they've decided to trade him. So he was very close to scoring 40 goals. I really liked him on the Vegas Golden Knights. He was one of my favorite players on the Golden Knights. So to see him get moved is a little bit surprising and shocking in my opinion, and a little bit hurtful as a Golden Knights fan as I am myself. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Knights do here. Once again, similar return to what the Mammoth got for Peterka. First round pick in this year's draft in the late 20s, a first round pick that's top 10 protected in 2028, and a third round pick. I'm not sure when that third round pick is. I have to double check on that. But it'll be very interesting to see. I don't think Vegas, we know Vegas how they work. I don't think they sit on just adding 2 first round picks and take someone at 26 overall. I would not be one bit surprised if they move that pick. So very interesting out there, but Vegas is now in the NHL draft tonight, not just tomorrow, but tonight. And it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening here. So Golden Knights, they make a trade with the New York Rangers, and the pick pick that the New York Rangers got for Keandre Miller helps them get Pavel Dorofeyev. So once again, I think that's going to be a really solid move there for the Rangers to get a skilled young winger who can really help them. Once again, the Metro, in my opinion, is very interesting. No one's really clear-cut a top-end team in the Metro Division beside Carolina, and now Washington is starting to pull away. So, like, Philadelphia, not sure what they're doing. Pittsburgh, there's been a lot of talk with them moving Rustin Raquel. Columbus, now there's a potentiality of them shopping Werenski. What about the Islanders? Like, I don't know what the Islanders are doing. They brought back D'Angelo today. Once again, the Devils, where do they go right now? After trading Simon Nemec, the Rangers, they just acquired Pavel Dorofeyev. Like, the Metro's a very, very confusing division. Like in the Atlantic, you can see teams who are rising and teams who are falling. In the Central, you can see some teams who are rising and falling. In the Pacific, even, you can see some teams who are rising and falling. The Metros at this point right now is just Carolina, to some extent Washington, and then a whole bunch of teams. So very interesting note there. So after that trade, the Rangers are now on the clock with pick number 5 in this year's NHL Entry Draft. So I wonder who they go after here. Now, in my original mock trade, I had them going Chase Reid. They need defensive help. They don't have a whole bunch of decent defensive prospects. They have some decent forward prospects, but not some decent defensive prospects. So I still think Reid is probably the play here. If they really did want a center, I could see him go after a Lawrence or a Bjorck, but I do think Reid is the play here for the Rangers. I would be surprised if Reid drops below NYR. So very interesting note there. Maybe they have Veerhoff or Carels or Smits a little bit higher on their team, on their draft list, but it'll be very interesting to note there. So very interesting, but just hold on a minute here, folks. Let me put this in the chat. Dorofeyev has been dealt to NYR by Vegas for a 26 first, 28 first, and a third-round pick. So very interesting to note there. But unfortunately, Pavel Dorofeyev is no longer a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. So very interesting to note there. But Dorofeyev is now a New York Ranger. So very interesting to note there. The Rangers pick is in, so they are just about to announce this pick here. Let me see if I can get pick number 6, which is Calgary, up. Just give me one quick second here, folks. They are just announcing the pick. Let's see if I can get Calgary here. Let's see. This would be, let's see here. Anaheim, Edmonton, Anaheim, Calgary. The Rangers select, let's see here, German League, Smits. They go Smits. Okay, this is a little bit of a surprising one in my opinion, but the New York Rangers wind up going Albert Smits at 5th overall. So a really solid pickup here from the Rangers. We'll talk a little bit here about Smits now with the Flames on the clock. So very interesting to note there. Smits, I cannot believe that they took him. So once again, I had Smits going to, I think it was San Jose at 9th overall in my last mock draft. So he's a little bit off the board here, but not too shabby. A really solid left-handed defenseman who's going to be able to really help this New York Rangers team. Let's see here. Smith's is 6'3", 209 pounds. He's a left-shot defenseman. This past year, put up 6 goals and 13 points in 38 Liga games. So really solid stuff there from the New York Rangers. Like I said, they don't have a whole bunch of lethal defensive prospects, and their defense is a little bit weak as is. So, like, you got Fox, you got Gavrikov, you got a couple of other pieces here. So, like, I don't know exactly how he's going to fit in, but I do think he's probably going to need a year or two of development time. But I think in time, Smits is going to be a really solid top pair defenseman, probably going to play with Adam Fox long term. So, really solid stuff here. Like I said, I'm surprised Chase Reid has fallen this far. He was arguably, a lot of people touted him as the best defenseman in this draft, and now we've had 2 defensemen taken before him. So, very interesting to know there, but Reid's falling a little bit here, and we'll see if the Flames stop that fall. But very interesting to note there that Chase Reid is not taken, and Albert Smits goes to the New York Rangers. So really solid stuff here from New York. And there's a trade alert. Let's see what this trade alert is here, folks. It might be the New York Rangers trade being announced, but let's just see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. There is a trade being announced. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see what this trade is. Hold on a minute here, folks. The Utah Mammoth trade, Peterka. Okay, so they're just announcing the Peterka deal. Okay, so the official thing is Peterka to the Bruins for pick 23 in this year's draft and a conditional first round pick in 2028. So once again, they're just officially announcing the JJ Peterka deal is officially gone through. So not surprising here, and Peterka is now a member of the Boston Bruins. So once again, this isn't too surprising in my opinion. He didn't really fit in overly well in Utah. He was a bomb 6'4" for a majority of the season, and all that success he had in Buffalo is there's another trade alert here, guys. So let's just see what's happening here. This might be the official announcement for Dorofeyev. Let's see here exactly what is happening. Let's see. So once again, the Golden Knights Dorofeyev trade. Okay, so they're just announcing the two trades that we already know will end up happening. It's for 26th and 92nd overall in 2026 and a first in 2028. So it's the 26th and 92nd overall pick in this year's draft. So very interesting to note there. The Golden Knights do wind up getting quite a haul for Pavel Dorofeyev, even though he winds up leaving. So very interesting to note there. So the Golden Knights get move Pavel Dorofeyev to the Rangers, and Peterka goes to Utah. So those two trades have officially been announced. So now Utah has pick 23, and Vegas has pick 26 in this year's draft tonight. So very interesting to note there. Just hold on a minute here, folks. Let's move. Hold on a minute here. I'm just going to say left shot defenseman Albert Smits to the New York Rangers. So lefty Albert Smits to the New York Rangers. So that's very interesting to know there. So hold on a minute here, folks. Just going to change things up a little bit just to give myself a little bit more space. So Toronto goes McKenna. San Jose goes Stenberg. So that's good there. The Canucks go after Malhotra. So that's very good stuff there for them. The Sabres go after Rudolph, and the Rangers go after Smits. So very interesting to note there. But that should give me a little bit more room to play with here. So NYR takes Smits at 5th overall. 6th on the clock is the Calgary Flames. Now, once again, they just acquired Simon Nemec. So I was projecting them when I was doing my mock draft to go after Vigo Bjorck, who's obviously one of the top end prospects in this year's draft. He's a center, but can also play wing. Very versatile guy. So I do think the Flames still go Bjorck here, but Reid's very tempting. There's still Veerhoff on the board. There's Carels. Tynan Lawrence is another center prospect they could go after. So very interesting to note there. It'll be very interesting to see who ends up going here. So very interesting note there. The pick is in, so the Flames have used this pick, so they're not trading it. There's no trade here. We are just about to get the announcement. Number 7 is Seattle, so let me see if I can get that thing up while they're announcing it here. The number 6 overall pick is the Calgary Flames. Let's see here, folks. Hold on a minute here. They're just about to announce the pick. So let's see who they wind up going after here. With the 6th overall pick, let's see. So that's Vegas, Vancouver, Seattle. It looks like it's Lanny McDonald being able to mention who they go after. So let's see. Let's see who ends up going here at this selection spot here for the Calgary Flames. Let's see here. So once again, Seattle's now on the clock. Let's see who they wind up going after. Once again, the Flames are here on the clock right now with the 6th overall pick they've just selected. The Kraken are on the clock with the 7th overall pick. So we shall see who they wind up going after. Let's see. With the 6th overall pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, the Calgary Flames select to help their team out for the future. Let's see. Proud to select. Let's see here. Just announcing it. Prince George Cougars. Who's that? Carson Carels. So the Flames go Carels. Once again, I thought they would go center prospect here, but the Flames go Carson Carels. What a huge pickup here for the Calgary Flames going Carson Carels at 6th overall. So let's just talk about Carels here for a minute. So hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Carels winds up going 6th overall. It's actually not even at the draft. So very interesting note there. Carels goes 6th to the Calgary Flames He's a 6'2" defenseman, 198 pounds, had 20 goals, 73 points in 58 WHL games this past year. So a really stellar pickup here for the Calgary Flames to take Carson Carels. Once again, I thought they'd go forward, but they go defenseman. Now they have Peterka, they have Simon Nemec, and they're going to have Carels in a couple of years. That is the makings of a very fantastic defensive core. It's not going to be good for the next year or two, but I think long term, you could have Carels paired with either Nemec or Peterka. You could still have Ballstein under contract. You add a couple more veterans, maybe a couple of other younger defensemen. Calgary's got the makings of a really stellar blue line, in my opinion. So once again, I thought they would go after Reid or one of the centers still left in Bjorck or Lawrence, but they wind up going Carels here. Once again, I think I had Carels going 8th overall to Winnipeg, so this is not a big jump here for the Calgary Flames. Once again, I still think Reid is probably the best defenseman available, but once again, they go after Carson Carels. So this is not a bad pickup here, in my opinion, for the Calgary Flames, and they wind up taking Carels. So very interesting to know there. I'm just going to really quickly check here, guys, on Twitter, see if there's any sort of big pieces of news that wind up happening here. So let's see if there's any other big things happening. Once again, Rudolph, the Dorofiev selection. Once again, we're seeing if there's any other big pieces of news coming out here. Let's see. No, it doesn't look like there's any sort of big updates, at least at this point in time. Let's just double check all of the insiders really quickly here. Yeah, nothing really stands out there. Let's just really quickly check a couple of other guys, see if any like Pagnota or Dreger have anything mentioning here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see exactly what winds up happening here. Once again, the Kraken are now on the clock, so you're not missing anything. Frank Saravalli, yep, okay. So yeah, there's nothing really newsworthy here to talk about at this point. Seems like all's quiet on the trade front, at least at this point in time. If you're just joining us earlier today, we saw Olen Zellweger, before the draft happened, go to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange, to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Anton Wahlberg, as well as pick 45 in this year's NHL Entry Draft. And then during the draft, we got 2 announcements as the JJ Peterka has dealt by the Utah Mammoth to the Boston Bruins for pick 23 and Florida's top 10 projected 2028 first-round pick. And then the Vegas Golden Knights have traded Pavel Dorofiev to the New York Rangers in exchange for pick 26, 2028 top 10 protected first-round pick, and a third-round pick, which is, I think, 92nd in this year's draft, too. So we'll see what these two teams do wind up doing with those extra draft capital. Now Dorofiev is now in New York, and Peterka is now in Boston. What does Utah and Vegas do with those extra draft picks? So it'll be very interesting to note there. There's a minute and a half left here before the pick is in for the Seattle Kraken, so it'll be very interesting to note there. Once again, the Kraken is a team who had the pick on the block. I do have the Kraken's first-round pick on my end-to-end hockey trade bait board right now, which you guys can go check out on my blog. I think there's a link to it in the description below. So you guys can go check out the entire picks that I do have, or the entire players I do have on my trade bait board right now. So if you guys want to go check it out, you guys can, or you can check it out after the draft. But I did have Seattle, I think, at like 18th overall on my trade board, that first-round pick, which is 40 seconds away from being used. We'll see if there's maybe some sort of trade that winds up happening here. I did have the Kraken 7th and Sharks 9th overall picks as ones that could wind up being dealt. So we'll see if that winds up happening here. Once again, I am also going to be live tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for round 2 of the NHL Draft. So once again, I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. It's going to be pretty interesting. We usually see some pretty big trades on day 2 of the NHL Draft. So very interesting note there. I'm just going to switch it over to to team who has pick number 8. So that should be Winnipeg, which I think is right here. Yes, it is. Okay, so Winnipeg's now going to be on the clock. 4, 3, 2, 1. The pick is in. So the Kraken do not move the 7th overall pick, and they're going to be using it to select someone here at 7th overall. So we'll see who they wind up using it to select 7th overall with. Once again, the Jets are now going to be on the clock with pick number 8. With the 7th selection in 2026 entry draft, the Seattle Kraken select from Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, Chase Reid. Reid's fall stops at the Seattle Kraken. And the Kraken have their franchise #1 right shot defenseman. There's a lot of people who have thought that Chase Reid might be the best defenseman in this year's draft. and he falls to the Seattle Kraken at pick 7. So very interesting to note there, but the Kraken stop his fall and gets Chase Reid. A huge pickup here for the Seattle Kraken. Let's talk about Reid here. He's a very good mobile right shot defenseman. Once again, he is 6 foot, 294 pounds, put up 18 goals, 48 points in 45 Sault Ste. Marie games with the Greyhounds of the OHL. A solid pickup here for the Seattle Kraken. Once again, I think Reid is going to be very fantastic in the Kraken organization. They have never taken, I think, a defender with a first-round pick, especially not any of their top-end picks. So going Reid here makes a ton of sense for the Kraken. Once again, it sounded like they were potentially considering moving the 7th overall pick, but they need to go through like some sort of a refresh, a retool, a rebuild, something. And I think going and moving off of Chase Reid makes that going and acquiring Chase Reid in the draft just makes a ton of sense. So very interesting note there, but the Kraken now have Chase Reid after selecting him 7th overall. Now on the clock is pick number 8, and that's going to be the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Reid goes 7th overall to the Seattle Kraken. A huge pickup here from Seattle to get Chase Reid. So really good stuff there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here. Hold on a minute. Nothing, it seems like, is really imminent at this point in time. So once again, we'll just really quickly go over some of the other things here. So Jets on the clock, then you got pick San Jose to Nashville. So we got some other things going here. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Once again, no real rumors at this current point in time. So they're just talking to Chase Reid. Once again, this is a A+ move, in my opinion, for the Kraken. Reid fell down. I was surprised that a couple of teams passed on him, but he is going to be a stellar pickup, in my opinion, for the Seattle Kraken. So let's do a couple of things here with this one. The Flames take the Flames took Carels. That's right. So Calgary takes Carels, who is a left shot defenseman. And then the Seattle Kraken go after, let's see here, Seattle takes, who was it? The Kraken took, Reid. So they took right defenseman Chase Reid. So good stuff there, as we are in a pretty good position here. So Buffalo takes Rudolph, NYR takes Smits, Calgary takes Carels, Seattle takes Reid. Let's see what the Jets wind up doing here. It'll be very interesting. Now, I did predict in my mock draft to go after Carels, who's now already been taken off the boards. There's still a couple of really good defensemen available here for the Winnipeg Jets, and guys like Keaton Vierhoff. And there was, I think, another defenseman out there too. There's Tynan Lawrence and there's Viggo Bjorck, who are both really solid centers. The Jets need a second-line center for the future. They haven't been able to find that player to play with Mark Scheifele. So I do think there's a very likely chance that they could go after someone like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up going on here. Let's see once again. So just a recap for all the picks that have been taken so far. At first overall, the Toronto Maple Leafs took Gavin McKenna. Second overall, the San Jose Sharks took Ivar Stenberg. Third overall, it was the Vancouver Canucks taking Caleb Malhotra. Fourth overall, a little bit of an off-the-board pick here, but the Sabres took Daxon Rudolph. Fifth overall, the New York Rangers took Albert Smits. Sixth overall, the Calgary Flames took Carson Carels. At seventh overall, the Seattle Kraken took Chase Reid. So some really good movement here in the NHL's entry draft. And we'll see what winds up happening here, but Reid to Seattle at 7. So really good stuff here from the Kraken. And once again, they have been needing a top pair defenseman for a while. So I think getting Reid here at 7 just makes a ton of sense, in my opinion, for the Kraken. So really good stuff there. Let's see what else is happening here. Just give me one quick second here, folks. It seems that the Jets have just over a minute left to select their pick. So if everything goes smoothly, the Jets pick should be here. So the 9th overall will be the San Jose Sharks. So we got to go back to San Jose here. Let me just try and find the San Jose scorecard here. Just give me one quick second here, folks. The San Jose scorecard, that's Vegas, Vancouver, Seattle. This should be San Jose, if I'm correct. Yes, okay. So the San Jose Sharks now have pick number 8. They're about to be on the clock, or actually they have pick number 9. Should change that too. So they have pick number 9. Once again, we are over an hour into our draft coverage. We're already almost a third of the way through the draft, so it's definitely going quicker than it did last year. So that's a thigh and a half at this point. I'm going to be able to cover all of the picks. I think I had to stop at like pick 24, pick 25 last year. So really good stuff there. We'll see. The pick is in for the Winnipeg Jets. They don't even take the entire draft time. So Jets are selecting now. They are taking the pick, and we'll see who the Jets have at number 8 overall. At 8th overall, the Winnipeg Jets select, who is that? They do go Vigo Bjorck. A huge pickup here for the Winnipeg Jets. I mocked him at number 6 overall to Calgary, so he falls a couple of spots. But this is a really good pickup here, in my opinion. He's a little bit short. He's on the shorter side, but he's going to be a fantastic NHL player, man. Just like with a guy like Ivar Stenberg, like going after, just like go out with Ivar Stenberg to San Jose, I think he could be an NHL player in the next couple of years. Bjorck, once again, let's see here. He's 5'9", 181 pounds. So definitely on the smaller side of things, but I think he could still be a really impactful player. Once again, he had 6 goals, 15 points in 42 SHL games. But as we've seen over the past couple of years with guys like Stankoven and with guys like Caulfield, just because they're a little bit on the smaller side does not mean they can produce really, really well. So I like this pickup here for the Jets. They have needed a second line center for so dang long. Like, they have a really solid first line center in Scheifele. They need a second line center. They've gone through a number of guys over the years. Kevin Hayes, Paul Stastny. More recent years, they've gone after guys like Jonathan Toews this year. They had Cole Perfetti, but he's more moved to the wings. So, like, getting Bjorck, who's a guy who can play center, he also can play wing, so maybe he doesn't translate to center at the NHL level. That's a possibility, but like, I really love this pick here for the Winnipeg Jets. Bjorck, second overall, second line center for the Winnipeg Jets long term. Like, that's just a really stellar pickup here, in my opinion. So, really solid move there from the Winnipeg Jets, taking Vigo Bjorck at 9th overall. I think it's going to be a really solid pickup here. So, or 8th overall. So, at 9th overall, we now have the San Jose Sharks. So I don't know what to expect here from the Sharks. I did mention that there was a possibility they could use a draft pick here to move. Maybe they moved the pick here. Maybe there's a trade coming up here for the San Jose Sharks. That's a possibility. If they keep it, I think they go defense here. Once again, there's a couple of really stellar defensemen here that have fallen. And like I said, I was fully expecting that when the Buffalo Sabres made the trade. I said there's a very likely chance that one of guys like Daxon Rudolph or Carson Carels would probably fall to them. Now, both those guys have been taken out of the draft stock, but there's still a solid guy like Keaton Vierhoff. Vierhoff at one point was mentioned to be like a top 2, top 3 pick in this year's draft. Definitely fell off a couple of times over the past couple of years. But he's still a guy who can be a really solid power forward type defenseman or power defenseman. Top 4 guy who can be on the right side. He's a bigger body guy, going to be really hard to play against. I think Vierhoff may be the pick here for the San Jose Sharks if they don't wind up trading it. So we shall see what ends up happening here. Once again, let's see. If the San Jose Sharks do wind up taking at pick number 9, Kieran Vierhoff, I think that'll be a really good pickup here for the San Jose Sharks. So once again, Sharks are now on the clock. After them, we'll have pick 10, which will be the Nashville Predators' first pick of this year's draft. So we'll see where the Nashville Predators wind up going here. Let's see exactly what winds up happening here. So let's see. There's 2.5 minutes left here for the Sharks. Once again, for the Sharks here, I'm either expecting a trade to try and get some sort of NHL-ready defenseman, or potentially, if they keep the pick, most likely Vierhoff, maybe they go Lawrence, but I would think Vierhoff is most likely here for the San Jose Sharks. They need a defenseman. They need someone who's an elite playmaker. They already got Dickinson a couple of years ago, who's starting to turn into a really solid defenseman. They got Mukka Hamidulin, who's turned to a really solid prospect. So let's see who the Sharks go here. Let's just double check really quickly here on the Twitter, see if there's any sort of big news coming out here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if they can go, if there's any sort of big pieces of news coming out here. From Darren Dreger, there's been no real updates in the recent memory. David Pagnotta, Elliot Friedman, no real big updates recently. Pierre LeBrun, No real big updates recently. Okay, so all the insiders seem to be very quiet right now. So I'm not sure if the Sharks pick is going to be dealt or not, but the Sharks do have the 9th overall pick. And like we said, this is going a lot faster than last year. Like I know last year it was drawn out and drawn out and drawn out. So it seems like the Sharks are about to make their selection. I have to change this to Nashville now. So let's move this here. I think Nashville's the last one. So Winnipeg, that would be Utah, that would be St. Louis. I think this is Nashville if I'm correct. So let's see. Yes, this is Nashville Predators. Okay, so they are going to have pick number 10. So let's change this to pick number 10. There's a minute left here on the clock here for the San Jose Sharks to see if they pick it. If they move the pick, we'll see exactly what ends up happening. Once again, I do appreciate all of you guys for tuning into the live stream. We're going to be doing another live stream tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for day 2 of the NHL Draft. I always wind up doing day 2, so I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. We'll see how this graphics look tomorrow, but that is the solution for tomorrow's draft. So very interesting to note there. Once again, we will probably not have any more videos tonight. I'll probably have a couple of trade update videos maybe in the afternoon tomorrow and on Sunday, but I probably won't have anything out later tonight. So I'll probably just be back for the draft earlier in the morning tomorrow, and then we're probably going to have a couple of other things. So very interesting to note there. I do appreciate all of you guys for tuning in here. 10 seconds left here. We'll see if the Sharks make the pick or if they deal it. They got the 9th overall pick. Remember, that was the pick they got in the William Eklund deal, that the All Senators got in the Brady Tkachuk deal. And the pick is in. So they do not trade the 9th overall pick. I do wonder about 27. But the 9th overall pick is staying here for the San Jose Sharks. I fully expect Bjorck here. Let's see. The Sharks are taking out someone to make the selection for the San Jose Sharks. So very interesting to note there. Let's hope that the Sharks go after Bjorck here. Bjorck would be a very fantastic addition here for the Sharks. And with the 9th overall pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, the San Jose Sharks are going to select, let's see who they go here. Come on, Bjorck. I hope it's Bjorck. They need a defenseman. He's a great puck-moving guy. Maybe they go Lawrence, but I'm expecting Bjorck here. Let's see. And the San Jose Sharks with the 9th overall pick in the 2026 entry draft. They go from the North Dakota. Yep, they go it. Keaton Bjorck is the pick for the San Jose Sharks at 9th overall. The San Jose Sharks finally have a stellar defensive prospect in their system. No offense to Sam Dickinson, but Bjorck is just leagues above him. A huge pickup here for the San Jose Sharks. They take Keaton Bjorck. Let's go and talk about Keaton Bjorck here and what he could bring for the San Jose Sharks. So this past year, he wound up putting up 6 goals and 20 points in the NCAA. I think he's still going to play one more season over in college. He's 6'4", 216 pounds. He is a behemoth of a blue liner. He is going to be a great puck-moving defenseman. Really solid guy here for the San Jose Sharks. Once again, I think at his peak, he's going to be a solid 50 to 60, maybe even 70-point defenseman. He's going to be a tough guy to play against. He's got some really good defensive aspects to his game, and something that the Sharks desperately needed was a top pair defenseman, and that's someone who I think can be a top pair defenseman. They got McKenna, they got Sam Dickinson, they now have Michael Kesselring. In a couple of years' time, they'll have Keaton Bjorck. That defense is starting to look really good. Add 1 to 2 more defensemen, maybe move the 27th overall pick in this year's draft for some more immediate defensive help. That's going to be a really solid piece here for the Sharks. Once again, I knew once the Buffalo Sabres traded up and acquired that pick from Chicago, there was going to be someone who ended up dropping to the San Jose Sharks at 9th overall. This is a really good pickup here, in my opinion, for the San Jose Sharks. Bjorck, such an elite playmaking winger, defenseman. Once again, I do expect him to probably spend next year in college, so I don't expect the San Jose Sharks to probably rush him. But I do think in the next couple of years, Bjorck's going to come to the NHL, and he's going to be a behemoth to play against. Once again, I thought he was going to go 7th overall to the Kraken, so he falls just like Reid a little bit from my previous mock draft, and he goes to the San Jose Sharks. So really solid stuff there. Let's put this into my thing here. So at 9th overall, Winnipeg went after Viggo Bjorck. So Winnipeg takes Viggo Bjorck. And then at 9th overall, the San Jose Sharks go after Keaton Bjorck. So a really solid pickup here for the Sharks. So once again, I've liked the picks that have been made here pretty much for the most part. The San Jose Sharks, I really do like their pick. Once again, they've had pick 2, pick 9. They take Veerhoff, they take Stenberg. Those are some really good pickups here. Once again, I think the Leafs taking McKenna is really good. I think the Canucks taking Holtra is also really good. Reid falling to Seattle is absolutely insane. That's going to be a steal and a half for them. Bjorck falling to Winnipeg is going to be a really good steal for the Jets. Once again, Flames go Carels, Rangers go Smits, and Sabres go Rudolph. Once again, a little bit of off the board picks here, in my opinion, because I had all three of those defensemen going a little bit lower. But once again, there's like 5 or 6 interchangeable defensemen, in my opinion, in this year's draft. So not too many reaches at this point in time. So once again, very interesting to note there. As of right now, I think the only guy who hasn't been picked in the top 10 that I was expecting to go in the top 10 is Tynan Lawrence in the National Predators organization, who I mocked to go to the I think I had Lawrence going to Buffalo at 4th overall. So he's, I think, the only guy that I mocked going into the top 10 that hasn't gone yet. So Nashville, I still think, needs defense more than they need forward help. So even though they still have Lawrence on the board here, I would expect the Predators here to go after Malte Gustafsson, who's probably the next best defenseman. So I could see Gustafsson here go to the Nashville Predators. I could definitely see that be some sort of a good pickup here for the Predators. So it'll be interesting to see. Once again, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Lawrence, because Lawrence was supposed to be a top 10 pick in my opinion. There's only about 45 seconds here left, so we'll change this over here to pick number 11, which is going to be first of St. Louis's 4 first-round picks. So very interesting to note there. So yeah, that's pretty good. So let's just change this over here. Once again, they are talking to Bjorck, who was a couple of picks ago taken by the Winnipeg Jets. So very interesting to note there. Once again, the Blues are going to have pick number 11 on this draft. So that one's going to be taken in the very near future. The Preds are just about to finish up with their pick. So that's interesting to note there. But we got the Blues about to be on the clock here with pick number 11. So very interesting to note there. And we'll see exactly what winds up happening here. Once again, 4, 3, 2, 1. The pick is in. The Preds make the pick. They do not trade it. Not too surprising in my opinion, because I think this is the only pick the Preds have in the first round. So it doesn't come as too much of a surprise. Blues now going to be on the clock. Let's see who the Preds take at 10th overall. Nashville. Let's see exactly who they wind up taking here. At 10th overall, looks like they brought in someone here to announce the pick for the Nashville Predators. So very interesting to note there. Let's see exactly what winds up happening here for the Nashville Predators. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see who the Preds wind up going after here at 10th overall. Is Savanto or Command a better center? I've been mocking Savanto, Marshall, a little bit higher than Command. I think he probably projects to be a tiny bit better than Command. Not that Command's a pretty bad prospect or anything, but I just think Savanto has another element in his game. So I would say Savanto's probably going to be the first of those 2 centers to go off. But once again, I could be wrong. I was wrong by a couple of picks so far in tonight's draft. So we shall see what ends up happening. But I would say Savanto's probably the better pickup than Command. Let's see exactly who this Preds team is going to select with the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. With 10th overall selection in 2026 NHL Entry Draft, the Nashville Predators select, let's see, from the United States national team, they take Wyatt Cullen. Oh my gosh, that's a little bit of an off-the-board pick in my opinion. Okay, so the Nashville Predators have taken Wyatt Cullen. Now, I have not seen Cullen be taken 10th overall by really anyone. Like, I think the highest Cullen wound up going was like maybe mid-teens, like the 15th, 16th overall stuff was, I think, the highest the people I've seen mocked him. I think I had him going in the early 20s at like 20 or 21. But either way, Nashville goes up here and they take Wyatt Cullen. The fall of Tynan Lawrence goes a little bit further. So once again, the Preds are getting a pretty dang good pickup here in Wyatt Cullen. So let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. So the Preds take Wyatt Cullen. He's 6'1", 181 pounds, so not terribly small, but not on the bigger side either. Six goals, 16 points in 15 USHL games. So he's a forward. He can play a couple of different positions. I think he'd be a really good utility top six forward. I don't think he's going to be a guy who's going to be overly flashy, but I think he could put up like 60 to 70 points at his peak. I think he'd be playing like second line center minutes, first line wing minutes, give them another sort of like dynamic aspect to that game. So like I thought they probably would have gone defenseman because the National Predators could probably definitely use some defensive help, but they do wind up going here and taking Wyatt Cullen here. Yeah, like I said, I thought Lawrence was probably going to go like fourth, fifth, sixth, especially after the Buffalo trade after that pick, and it's not like they wanted a center. So I thought Lawrence would have gone a little bit higher than this, but it does seem like Lawrence is falling a little bit. I wonder about maybe New Jersey or the Islanders going after Lawrence. I think the Blues are probably going to go defense here and take Malte Gustafsson, who I did mock in my last mock draft to go to St. Louis, who I think is still the best defensive prospect left on the market at this point in time on the draft board. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up going here. Let's see if there's any sort of other big move here right now that's being talked about. Hold on. Let's see what else is going to end up happening here. According to Elliot Friedman, Pavel Dorofeyev will be signing a 7-year extension with an $11 million AAV in New York. What is New York doing? Like, once again, they are a team who finished dead last in the NHL this past year, or in the Eastern Conference. They are a team who needs to rebuild. They have had Trocheck and Schneider on the trade block, and now they give up futures to go after Pavel Dorofeyev and sign him to a 7-year extension with an $11 million AAV. I don't know. Once again, if this is what Dorofeyev was asking, yeah, I can see what the Knights would have wanted to cut bait with him. I don't think they were ever paying him $11 million. Even if they were to do like the no state tax sort of like comparison thing, I think Vegas probably would have gone as high as $7.5 million. I think Dorofeyev probably would have won 9. That might have been why they wound up trading him. That's an overpay and a half, in my opinion. I know Dorofeyev is going to be a really solid goal scorer. Probably has peak put up like 40, 45 points. Goals, probably put up like 70, 75 points. But like $11 million. It's their new... Dorofeyev's their new Panarin at this point because they just traded an $11 million player to acquire an $11 million player. And I don't even think Dorofeyev is as dynamic as Pavel Dorofeyev. Yeah, once again, I just think if that's true and Freeman's right, and that's what the ask was from Dorofeyev, I have no surprise as to why the Golden Knights cut bait with Pavel Dorofeyev. That's insane money for Pavel Dorofeyev. Good for him. Great to see that he got a whole bunch of money, but like that's going to be handicapping the Rangers a whole bunch, making a whole bunch of other trades. So very interesting note there. We did just have number 10 here taken with Wyatt Cullen to the Nashville Predators. Blues are now on the clock at pick number 11. And once again, like I said, this draft is going a lot quicker. I think we'll probably be done at this point in time, maybe around 8-ish, maybe closer to 8:30, but I don't think it's going to go like 4.5 hours like it did last year. So like that's good. So pick number 11 with the St. Louis Blues. Now, for the Blues, this is a team that could go a variety of different ways. They have pick 15. They have pick 16. They have pick 29 on top of having this 11th overall pick. They could use some defensive help, but they could also use some center help. Tynan Lawrence has been falling a little bit recently. They still have Suvanto, who at some points I did mock going to St. Louis. There's still Alex Command. There's still Maddox Dagna on the center group. They have some defensive needs. There's guys like Villeneuve still available. There's guys like Malte Gustafsson. There's guys like Ryan Lynn. So like the Blues, with the fact that they have so many first-round picks, the fact that they have so many needs, they could go a variety of different ways here. I'm not even going to try and predict who they go after. My guess would be maybe Malte Gustafsson or Tynan Lawrence, but that's just my speculation at this point in time. So it will be very interesting to see what ends up happening here. Let's see exactly what ends up happening with pick number 11 in the NHL's entry draft. So let's see what else winds up happening here. Let's see if there's any sort of other updates that have been happening for the past couple of days. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Hold on a minute here. I'm just trying to see if there's any sort of other updates here from any of the other insiders. Yeah, LeBron just confirmed it's a 7-year contract extension for Pavel Dorofeev with an AV of $11 million. So that's a very hefty contract for the New York Rangers. Just really quickly checking here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to look for it. I don't think the Nurse and Jerry to Philadelphia deal is confirmed. It is interesting, though. Nurse has been linked to Philadelphia quite a bit. The St. Louis Blues are making their pick here. Hold on a minute here, folks. I'm just going to really quickly go over here and see what the pick is. Let's see. I'm going to have to change this pick in a minute here. I'll get to your guys' chats in a minute here. Just to see, the Blues select at 11th overall with the pick. When they have 3 other first-round picks, they take, let's see here, the St. Louis Blues with the 11th overall pick in the NHL Entry Draft, like Boston College. Yep, it's Tynan Lawrence. Okay, so Lawrence's falls at number 11. Not too surprising here. The Blues could use a center prospect to be their long-term second-line center behind Robert Thomas, who it sounds like is not leaving anymore. So Tynan Lawrence is going to be a really good pickup here. I'll talk about Lawrence in just a second. I got to switch up some things here. So hold on a minute here, folks. Let's just move the image. It's now 12th overall, which would be the New Jersey Devils. So I just got to quickly try and find the Devils here. I had their scorecard here just a second ago, so just give me one quick second here, folks. I think this is the Devils. Yes, it is. Okay, so the Devils are on the clock now with pick number 12. So that's very interesting to know there. Let's go over to this little thing here. Let's see, 8, 9, 10 was the Nashville Predators. They took Wyatt Cullen, who is a forward prospect. Nashville takes Wyatt Cullen, who is a forward prospect. Forgot about that. Just let me fix that up. And then the St. Louis Blues go after center prospect Tynan Lawrence. So St. Louis goes after Tynan Lawrence. So a really solid pickup here for the Blues. Now let's discuss what the St. Louis Blues are getting here in center Tynan Lawrence. Hold on a minute here. I think I just forgot the center portion. Let's put the center over here. Okay, so let's discuss what the St. Louis Blues are getting here in Tynan Lawrence. So for the St. Louis Blues, this is a really good pickup here. Once again, they have some decent prospects who can play on the wing, but no one who's a legit, clear-cut second-line center prospect. So I think going after Lawrence here is not a bad pickup here for the Blues. He's 6'1", he's 185 pounds. He had 2 goals and 7 points in 18 NCAA games this past year. He's a guy who I think projects to be a really solid second-line center, maybe more of a two-way guy. Not the greatest offensive player, but I think he could probably put up like 50 to 60 points on the St. Louis Blues. With the rumors that doesn't sound like the Blues are moving Robert Thomas anymore, I think he slots in pretty well into the second-line center position. So not a bad pickup here from the St. Louis Blues, taking Tynan Lawrence with the 11th overall pick, as we've now reached the official third as we've now passed a third of the draft. So very interesting to note there. Just looking at LeBron right now and a couple of the other insiders, seeing if there's any sort of news when it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers. Prior to the selection, Blues had continued trade calls involving the pick. Apparently 15, 16, and 29 have also been in play. So once again, the Blues are going to have a couple more picks in the very near future. We'll see if they do wind up moving it. They have the 15th and 16th overall picks. So in 4 and 5 picks, they will be back on the clock again. So according to David Pagnotta, they are still listening on offers for that pick. So at this point in time, I can't really find anything to back up Darcy's claims of Nurse and Jari to Philadelphia. It might just be some speculation. But it'll be very interesting to see if that does wind up happening. Once again, the Philadelphia Flyers already have enough goaltenders in Wool and Vladar. They do have some cap space though, so if they move Jari as like their third stringer to call up if need be, that might make some sense. And once again, there's been a lot of talk about Nurse to Philadelphia, how Nurse has been all right being moved to Philly, and Philadelphia will be all right with acquiring Nurse. But if they're taking on that much money, you gotta think either some money's coming back to the Edmonton Oilers, or there's going to be some sort of like big ask that the Philadelphia Flyers would take, because that would be a lot of money. So we'll see what happens there. Once again, they're just showing selections from the Canadian team so far on the draft, with McKenna going to Toronto, Malholtzer going to Vancouver, Carels going to Calgary, and Bjorck going to Winnipeg. So very interesting to note there. I think the other 3 teams all made the playoffs, and the Oilers don't have a first-round pick this year. So once again, Ottawa, I think's next pick is 25th overall, and Montreal's pick is going to be 28th overall. So none of the other Canadian teams are going to be picking for quite some time. But yeah, it's been very interesting tonight so far. Let's see, when's the next Canadian team pick? I don't think it's any time over the next little bit. Looks like the Canucks pick 24 is going to be the next pick. I know there's been a lot of talk about this from some Sens fans and some speculation out there, but there's been some people who have speculated that with the Ruck brothers, they're projected to go late first round, and the Canucks do have pick 24, and the Senators have pick 25. So the Senators move pick 25 in some sort of a package to get one of the Canucks players, whether that's like a DeBrusk or a Besser or an Elias Pettersson. That's just something that's been thrown out there, I think, mostly by Senators fans. But it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what winds up happening there. So very interesting to note there, the Devils are on the clock. So I think they're just about to set the timer for the New Jersey Devils. So that's what's interesting there. Once again, if we just want to tune in tonight, we've seen some very interesting things happen over the past little while. Yesterday, not a ton of things happened. Val Nichushkin was traded by the Blue Jackets to the Avalanche for a second, third, and fifth round pick, a deal which I think was a really smart move there from the Columbus Blue Jackets. So let's see. Looks like the New Jersey Devils are going to the pick is in for the New Jersey Devils. Okay, so that's actually interesting. The 13th overall pick is the Islanders. So let's see if I can find them here really quickly. They're just announcing that pick. So let's see if I can just really quickly find the Islanders. Good job. Okay. So Bettman's just announcing the pick for the New Jersey Devils here, and we'll see who they take at 12th overall. The New Jersey Devils select, let's see here, it's Alexander Kuman. Oh, Alexander Kaman. Okay, so Kaman goes 12th overall to the New Jersey Devils. Okay, it's a little bit of a stretch here, in my opinion, because I didn't think he was the best center prospect available. I thought Suvanto was probably going to be the better one. But Kaman, a really solid pickup here for the New Jersey Devils. Once again, I thought in my mock draft who I have going to them. I have him going after Belchitz, so Belchitz is a little bit falling right now. But once again, they go center here once again, covering all their bases just in case maybe they lose Jack Hughes in a couple of years' time. So very interesting to note there. Kaman, I think, could be a really solid pickup here for the Devils. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see what the Devils are getting here in Kuman. So let's see. He's a center prospect, 6 foot, 187 pounds, very similar stats to Tyron Lawrence. He had 17 goals and 44 points in 30 U20 SHL games and also had no points in 6 SHL games. But looks like a really solid prospect here. I think he probably projects to be at the very least a second-line center for the New Jersey Devils. Now, the Devils already have some really good centers in Hischier and Jack Hughes. So I do wonder if maybe they try and move him to the wing, or maybe they wind up having him play as the third-line center. That's another possibility. So very interesting to note there. But the New Jersey Devils do end up taking Kaman here at the 12th overall selection. So very interesting out there. Really solid pickup there. I do think he'll be able to fit in really well with the New Jersey Devils. So really solid pickup here for the Devils getting Kaman. And it'll be very interesting to see how he fits long-term into the New Jersey Devils' plans. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here, folks. Just double-checking a couple of other things here. And let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Apparently, the Sharks were hoping to land Bjorck before they won the lottery to move up to number 2. So he fell into their laps at number 9. So, yeah, the fact that the Sharks got Bjorck and Stenberg in this draft is just absolutely great. So, great stuff there for the San Jose Sharks. They are going to be lethal for years to come. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sharks win the playoffs, maybe even one round next year. So, it'll be very interesting to know there. Let's see what winds up happening here. Once again, hold on a minute here, folks. We're just checking here if there's any sort of big pieces of news. So let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if there's anything else being mentioned here. Once again, so picks I'd be looking at here potentially being traded in the very near future. I think the Islanders and probably the Jackets keep their picks. I would say they probably wind up using it to select someone. The Blues do have pick 15, 16. Those will be two picks I would definitely be keeping an eye on. When it comes to other ones, Kings 17 overall, if they can move someone for a second line center, I wouldn't be surprised if they move pick 17. I think the Caps probably pick someone at 18 overall. Like I said, Utah has picked 19 and 23 now, so I'd be very interested in seeing what Utah does with those two picks. Buffalo has picked 20, same thing. Be very interested to see what they do with pick 20. I think Philadelphia and Pittsburgh probably keep their picks as well as Vancouver. Ottawa, 25th overall. I do wonder what they do with the 25th overall pick. The Knights now have picked 26. I do wonder if they try and flip that one. Let's see, Sharks still have pick 27. That's going to be an interesting one to watch out for. Montreal's 28th overall pick is going to be one to watch out for. St. Louis' 29th is going to be one to watch out for. And Carolina's 31st is also going to be one to watch out for. So there's a couple of different picks here that I think are being had for the right price. So those are going to be very interesting to watch out for. Let's see here. The Islanders pick's almost in, so we're going to change this now here to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So let's do that here. Just give me one quick sec here, folks. I think this is the Blue Jackets, am I correct? Yes, it is. Okay, and they're going to be picking number 14 overall. So that's fantastic stuff there for the Blue Jackets. So that's really good stuff there. Okay. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Jackets do here with pick 14. Now, I originally had them going after just best player available because they already have some pretty decent defensive players and offensive players. Or actually, the Islanders are still on the clock, mind you. So what could the Islanders do here? Well, they have some pretty decent defensemen already. I know there's Ryan Lynn and Malte Gustavsson, who I think could be really solid defensive additions there for the New York Islanders. But I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe tried to go for a forward prospect here. I think they could probably use one more lethal forward one. Now, I think in my predictions a couple of days ago, I had them going after Novotny. Now, Novotny I think would be a really solid pickup there. But now, after some of the other recent picks, Belchitz has fallen down a little bit. Suvanto's still on the board. They also have a couple of other decent forward prospects here that they could go after. So I do still think Novotny is a possibility, but like Elmerson or Almanson or Belchitz or Suvanto, I think could also be really solid pickups there for the New York Islanders. So very interesting to know there. But I'm thinking probably Belchitz, maybe Novotny, but I'm thinking probably a forward prospect here is the way the Islanders go. So very interesting to know there. Once again, we will see if the Islanders or Jackets trade. I highly doubt that, but we'll see. Once again, some really solid drafting so far. Even though it haven't been completely correct, there hasn't really been so many surprises so far, in my opinion. Kaman going 12th and Colin going 10th, I think were a little bit shocking. But besides that, not really any true surprises, in my opinion. Once again, basically my entire top 10 was picked in the top 10, except for Lawrence, who dropped to 11th. So yeah, I got the prospects right in the top 10, basically. I just didn't get the order right. So, very interesting note there. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks like the pick is in, I think, for the New York Islanders. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. And the pick is in for the New York Islanders. The Islanders have now taken their selection, and we shall see who the Islanders wind up going after here. The pick is in. Let's see who the Islanders wind up selecting at 13th overall. Like I said, I'm thinking Belchitz, maybe Novotny. I think in the forward prospect here, probably, maybe Suvanto. We'll see who the Islanders have up their sleeve to take here. Once again, it looks like they're calling up Matthew Schaefer to announce the pick for the New York Islanders. So it'll be very interesting to see how this winds up going. Once again, let's see who the Islanders do wind up taking here at 13th overall. Let's see, once again, Schaefer just hyping up the crowd. Let's see how the Islanders play this year. I'm thinking forward. I'm thinking Suvanto. I'm thinking Belchitz. Maybe Novotny, like I predicted in my mock draft. But I wouldn't be shocked if it was like a defenseman. Maybe a Malte Gustavsson or Ryan Lynn. Let's see exactly who they wind up going after here. And the New York Islanders are going to... Let's see what they do here. And let's see. The 13th overall pick in the 2026 entry draft. The New York Islanders are proud to select Let's see, from HB71, which is, I think, one of the SHL teams. Yep, they do go Malte Gustafsson, the best defenseman, in my opinion, left on the NHL draft board. So Islanders go defenseman here and take Malte Gustafsson. So very interesting to note there. So the Islanders go Gustafsson. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought they would have gone Suvanto, Belchitz, maybe to Navani, like I predicted in my original mock draft, but they do end up going Gustafsson here. Once again, in my opinion, arguably the best defenseman left on the draft board after all those top end guys who got taken from like fourth to ninth overall. So not too surprising there. Once again, let's just see what the Islanders are getting here in Malte Gustafsson. He's 6'4", 203 pounds. He had 4 goals and 12 points in 19 U20 games. So really solid stuff there from the Islanders. They're getting a really solid prospect. Like, I think Gustafsson has probably a little more defensive minded than a little bit more offensive minded, but he has really good capabilities. And I do wonder how this is going to go here for the New York Islanders. Like, once again, they already have Pelech, they have Pulak, they have Romanov once he gets healthy, they have Schaefer, they have a couple of younger guys coming in like a Kashan Aitchison, and now they have Malte Gustafsson. So like that Islanders defensive core, that once again is a little bit underrated, and I think it's going to be scary for years to come. Once again, I think Malte Gustafsson is probably going to need most likely 2 years of development time in the SHL, maybe in the AHL as well. But either way, really solid pickup there for the New York Islanders as they take Malte Gustafsson. Now, my phone's getting a little bit down there in battery percentage. I'm just going to plug it in here. I'm still going to look at a couple of things, but if I'm looking over it this way, just realize that's why I'm doing it. So let's see exactly what else is happening here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if there's anything. In speaking to, apparently, the Jackets Marchenko camp feels that the Rangers' new contract with Dorofeev is a comparable. So Marchenko wants $11 million on his next deal, or around that, from the Blue Jackets. So that's another one that's a little bit out there. Once again, Marchenko's a really good goal scorer. He's put up around 30 goals this year, so that's not terrible, but that's not $10 million worth. I know the cap's going up, but like I'd be a little bit wary of that if I was the Blue Jackets. So interesting to note there. Let's see what else winds up happening here. Once again, there's going to be very interesting to note there, but according to Kevin Weeks, the Jackets are apparently listening on Marchenko, and that could be why that he wants that much money. So let's see. Hold on a minute here. What winds up happening? So once again, just looking at some other things here. Some people on Twitter are just looking at the Sharks' recent draft selection. In 2023, they took Smith and Musty. In 2024, took Celebrini and Dickinson. Last year, they took Misa and Ravensburgen. This year, Stenberg and Vierhoff. But the Sharks are building something special, man. Like, once again, maybe not a cup contender next year, but I think in the next 2 to 3 years, insulate all that young talent with a couple of really solid veterans, add some more defensive help. This team's going to be scary to play against. So once again, I still think the Knights are a good team. I still think the Oilers are a good team. They're nothing to be scoffing at. But like, I think San Jose and Anaheim are getting very, very close to usurping those other two for the top Pacific spots. Like, I think Anaheim really put their mark on it last year. I have a feeling San Jose is going to put their mark on that division next year. So once again, like, LA's in the mucky middle. Seattle's basically the definition of mid, and Calgary and Vancouver are sort of in rebuild mode right now. So like, I think it's those 4 teams who are probably going to be top in the Pacific next year. San Jose, Anaheim, Vegas, and Edmonton. I will not be one bit surprised if San Jose surprised a whole bunch of people and we're a top 3 team next year. So very interesting to note there. Weeks, yeah, that's what I was talking about. I thought it just meant that he wanted an extension like that. So I don't know what the teams are going to be looking for here. Marchenko's a really good goal scorer, but I don't know about paying him like $10 to $11 million. He's a really good goal scorer, and I could see him be really good in a couple of different teams. But yeah, I don't know if paying him $11 million is the right move for a whole bunch of teams. So once again, just really quickly looking here. So the pick is close to being in for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I fully expect them to make this selection. So we shall see who they select here. I'm just going to really quickly change it here. The Blues are going to have the next 2 picks after this Blue Jackets pick here. So we're going to go back to the St. Louis Blues. That's Winnipeg, Utah. I think this is St. Louis again. Yes. Okay. So they're going to have pick number 15 and pick number 16 here, but the Blue Jackets are still on the clock. So once again, they're going to be picking here. at 14th overall. So let's move the next two picks into our little thing here at the bottom. So remember, the Jackets just took Oscar Hemming at 14th overall. Okay, so the Jackets going Hemming here. A little bit of surprise. I had Hemming, I think, going in the later teens, early 20s. So not too much of a reach here for the Jackets, but that's a really good pickup here for the Jackets. I'm just going to really quickly change this thing up here really quickly, folks, and then we'll go and talk about the Jackets pick of Oscar Hemming. So let's see what winds up going on here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just going to really quickly change these things up. NYI took left shot defenseman Malte Gustafsson. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. So once again, really good stuff here so far. Once again, Hemming is taken by the Columbus Blue Jackets. So it's not a bad pickup here, in my opinion, for Columbus. Let's look at some of the stats here for Oscar Hemming. This past year with the, where was he exactly? I didn't see exactly where he was from. Boston College. Oh, yeah, that's right. I expected him to go to Boston 23 because of the Boston connection. So he goes to Columbus, 6 foot, 498-pound forward prospect, shoots left, so can play left wing, could also play center. So a very good versatile guy there for the Blue Jackets. 1 goal, 8 points in 19 NCAA games. So very interesting to note there for the Blue Jackets. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just give me one quick second. Now, once again, the Jackets at this point I thought would just go best player available. So maybe Hemming, they feel like, is the best player available. It's not a bad pickup here, folks, for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I do think this is a really good pickup here for Columbus. And now the Blues are on the clock after acquiring that pick from the Justin Falk deal. So once again, really solid pickup here for the Blue Jackets. I think in time, he could be a really solid middle six, maybe top six forward, maybe like a second line center for that team or a second line winger, sort of power forward type guy with his size that he has. So very interesting to know there, but the Jackets use their selection, and at 14th overall, they take, and at 14th overall, they wind up taking Oscar Hemming. I don't know why the blank for a second there, but either way, really solid stuff there as the Jackets take Hemming. So very interesting note there. The Blues are not going to be on the clock for the next 2 draft picks unless they maybe make a trade. So we'll see exactly what winds up happening here. 15 overall is now on the clock right now for the St. Louis Blues. Remember, they have 4 first-round draft picks, so not sure if they'll use all of them, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what winds up happening here. Let's see. It says that Weeks just recently tweeted out that Marchenko is very unlikely to re-sign with the Blue Jackets as of right now. So I don't know where Marchenko's going to go, but that's going to be a situation to watch out for over the next 24-ish hours. So very interesting to note there. And yeah, once again, a lot of people on Twitter right now are just saying the San Jose Sharks, after getting Bjorck and Stenberg, are going to be a problem. A big problem for the NHL after taking Stenberg and Bjorck. So very interesting to know there. So really good stuff there. Once again, 7-year, $77 million extension for Pavel Dorofeev with the New York Rangers. And that, in my opinion, is why I can see the Vegas Golden Knights not wanting to sign Dorofeev. So very interesting to know there. Let's see if there's any sort of other pickups here for the in the NHL. It doesn't look like there's anything else going on at this current point in time. But once again, we'll see if there's maybe some sort of big surprise here for St. Louis. And once again, St. Louis has been mentioned to be in on trade talks involving pick 15, 16, and 29. So I do wonder if there's something brewing around under the shadows here. I don't think they'll take every one of those picks, but we'll see. Once again, it seems like they have a minute left to decide if they're using this pick or if they are moving it. So we'll see exactly what winds up happening here. Once again, I will be back here tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time, for round 2 of the NHL Entry Draft. So I'm not going to do anything tonight. I'm going to get everything set up so that I'm going to be able to wake up tomorrow morning and do round 2. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. We usually see some big trades on day 2. It always happens. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm probably not going to do any other videos tonight, but tomorrow probably will have a couple more videos, and Sunday we're going to have a couple of trade recap videos. Probably going to have a couple of other videos. So very interesting note there. Once again, the Blues are on the clock. There's 20 seconds left. We'll see if the Blues are doing anything. So let's see exactly what happens here. Let's see if the Blues do wind up making some sort of a move here. There's 10 seconds left. they may wind up using that pick. Now, in my mock draft, I had the Ruck brothers going 15 to 16, which is still a possibility, but I think it's a little bit more distinct. You got Suvanto, you've got Belchitz, you've got Novotny, you've got Klepov. There's a couple of really solid prospects here that the Blues could go after at 15th overall. And let's see here what the Blues are going to do. Once again, the pick is in hasn't come up yet. So I wonder if there's some sort of a trade on the draft floor. Let's see what's happening here. Once again, there's a little bit of a delay from the stop clock to the pick is in thing. So maybe they're making a little bit of a hard time to pick their selection. Let's see exactly what winds up happening here. Hold on a minute here, folks. It's just stopping a little bit here for a second. So let's exactly see what's happening here. Remember, the Blues just took Tynan Lawrence 11th overall. So we'll see exactly who they go after here. After them, the Devils took Kuman. The Islanders took Gustafsson, and the Jackets took Hemming. So I do wonder who they wind up going after here. Let's see if there's a trade alert here. Let's see. Yeah, it does sound like there's like maybe something happening here. The Blues might be trading the 15th overall pick. We'll see exactly what ends up happening here. Like, the picks have been going pretty fast, so yeah, I do wonder if there's maybe a trade coming up here. I do wonder about St. Louis maybe trading for McTavish Marshall, just because the fact that he was mentioned a whole bunch to Anaheim yesterday. I think New York probably not going to do that anymore because of the acquisition of Dorofeyev. Maybe. But maybe they are trading pick 15 for McTavish. That's a possibility right now. Once again, it sounded like the Ducks really wanted to just flip picks that they got in front, back from Mason McTavish. So I don't know if they would really want to make that sort of a deal. Maybe they've taken pick 16 and the Blues are using the pick 15 to draft something. So we'll see what ends up happening here. There's definitely a lull in this thing, obviously due to the fact that there is a trade sounds like brewing. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Just give me a quick second here, folks. Just got to really quickly do something. Once again, we have seen a couple of trades, but those ones basically happened earlier and just before the draft started. So I do wonder if we see something else here. Once again, Hemming was just taken by 14 by the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blues currently have the 15th overall pick. They're going to Elliott Freeman right now. Let's see, the delay is because the St. Louis Blues are acquiring Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks for 15 and 29 overall. So it seems like the Ducks are going to be dealing Mason McTavish to the St. Louis Blues. Now, unlike Peterka or Dorofeyev, McTavish was on my trade bait board. I think he was 6th on my trade bait board. So one of my players off the trade bait board is being traded now, as Mason McTavish is heading to St. Louis for 2 first-round picks. Really interesting to see that a lot of teams are dealing first-round picks, multiple first-round picks for like middle 6 players. Like Dorofeyev, solid goal scorer, he got 2 first-round picks. Peterka, pretty solid top 6 forward, he got 2 first-round picks. McTavish, pretty decent second-line center, he got 2 first-round picks. So very interesting to note there, but it looks like 15th and 29th overall are going to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Mason McTavish. So once again, the Blues turn 2 of the first-round picks that they have into a player who can help them right now. Not a bad pick up here for St. Louis. And for the Anaheim Ducks, they get a couple of interesting draft picks. And let's see, it looks like they're going to the podium. Gary Bettman is going to announce the trade. So let's see exactly what ends up happening here. Trade has happened on the trade floor. Looks like McTavish for 15 and 29 by the looks of things. Let's see what ends up happening here. The Anaheim Ducks trade Mason McTavish to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for pick 15 and 29 in the draft. The Ducks are now on the clock. So, once again, I don't think it's a terrible trade for the Ducks. Once again, there's been a lot of talk. McTavish, at some points, was a healthy scratch, or not a healthy scratch, but like basically demoted in the playoffs. So, like, it looked like he had lost favor in Anaheim. So, it does seem like that's going to be very interesting there. The Ducks now have the 15th and 29th overall pick. So, they go from having no first-round picks to having 2 now. So, let's change this here to the Anaheim Ducks. Just hold on a second here, folks. Let's see. Once again, it looks like they're just about to go to a commercial break, so you are not missing a thing. Let's see. So the Ducks should be this one, I think, right here, right? Yes. Okay. So the Ducks now are on the clock with pick 15. They now also do have pick 29. So actually, I should be changing that up a little bit here. So we're in a commercial break. You guys are not missing a thing. I actually should be changing a couple of things up here. Left shot defenseman, not left shot E. Okay, so that's left defenseman Gustafsson. We'll just change this over here right now. CBJ takes forward Oscar Hemming. So a really solid pickup there for the Jackets. It's really good stuff there. Let's see. So St. Louis now has traded the pick 15, so that is now the Ducks pick. They have also traded pick 29, so let's move that. So it was the Blues, now it is the Ducks pick. So that's going to be pick 29. And then, of course, the Rangers' 26 overall pick is now the Knights. So we're going to change that up. Let's see here. Knights. Hold on a minute here, folks. I think I misdid that. That's Ducks. And then this is also going to be Ducks. Let's get this going here. And then the other one was Boston. That's right. They traded to Utah. So pick number 23 is now going to be the Mammoth. So very interesting to note there. So that should be all good to go now. So that's really good stuff there. Okay. So, yeah, so a little bit of changes here in the draft order. So far, if you guys are just joining us, we have had some very interesting stuff so far. First overall, the Toronto Maple Leafs are taking Gavin McKenna. Second overall, San Jose went Ivar Stenberg. Third overall, Canucks went Caleb Malhotra. Fourth overall, the Buffalo Sabres went Daxon Rudolph. At fifth overall, it was the New York Rangers taking Smits. Sixth overall was the Flames taking Carels. Seventh overall, the Kraken nabbed Reid. At eighth overall, the Jets were able to land Bjorck. Ninth overall, Steele, the San Jose Sharks took Bierhoff. Nashville took Cullen at 10th overall. The Blues took Lawrence at 11th overall. The Devils took Kaman at 12th overall. The Islanders took Malte Gustafsson 13th overall. And the Blue Jackets have taken Oscar Hemming 14th overall. The Anaheim Ducks are now on the clock. So very interesting to note there. Once again, if you are just joining us too, we've seen a couple of big trades during this live stream. Earlier today, we saw a couple of smaller trades. Berard went to the New York Rangers in exchange. Berard went to the Montreal Canadiens by the New York Rangers in exchange for Montreal's William Trudeau. Okay, the Ducks pick, it looks like, is in. Let's see. Maybe. Let's see. Hold on a minute here. Yep, the pick is in. So the Ducks are using 15 overall. So I got to change that back to the St. Louis Blues now for 16. Let's see here, folks. With the 15 selection in the draft, the Anaheim Ducks select, let's see who it is, Saginaw Spirits, Nikita Klepov. So it is Klepov here going to the Anaheim Ducks. Once again, the Ducks have had a knack for picking out some really good talent, so they go Klepov here. I think in my draft, in my mock one, I had him going, I think in the early 20s, if I'm correct. I think it was to... who was it? I had Klepov going to like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or something like that. Either way, I think it was in the early 20s. So a little bit of an off-the-board sort of pick here from the Anaheim Ducks. But they do wind up taking Malte Gustafsson here. They do want to take in Nikita Klepov at 15th overall. Let's go talk about Nikita Klepov and what the Ducks are getting here in Klepov. So once again, really solid stuff there. I do think Linor Belchitz could make it to Washington. Well, remember, it's only Los Angeles and St. Louis ahead of them. I could see Linor Belchitz go to St. Louis Marshall if they do wind up keeping that 16th overall pick. I think Kings go center prospect, probably a guy like Subanto, who I projected to go to him in my last mock draft. So I do think the Kings probably take a center. But I could see Linor Belchitz fall to the Washington Capitals. I originally had Kaman going to the Caps at 18th overall in my mock draft a day or two ago. But now that Kaman's gone to the New Jersey Devils. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. So Klepov goes to the Anaheim Ducks. So he's 6 feet, 187 pounds. He's a right winger. It's not a bad pickup here for the Ducks. He's 37 goals, 97 points in OHL. So very interesting to note there for the Anaheim Ducks. Really solid power forward type guy. He's on the bigger side of things. He's 6 feet, so not terribly big, but he's going to be a solid guy. Put him on the wing with guys like Leo Carlson, with guys like Karagoche, with guys like Beckett Seneca. Put him in that top 6. He's going to do some damage in a couple of years' time. Once again, just like with Seneca, probably going to take a couple of years of development time, but I think when he gets to the NHL, he's going to be a beast to play against. Almost put up 100 points in just under 70 games in the OHL. So really good stuff there for the Anaheim Ducks as they take Klepov, and that's a very fantastic pickup here from Anaheim. So once again, Blues do use a couple of their picks, acquire McTavish, and the Ducks use once again. And the Ducks are able to acquire 15th and 29th overall. 15th is used to select. 15th overall is used to select Klepov. So very interesting note there. So now the Blues are on the clock with pick 16 in this year's draft. It sounds like Marchenko does not want to sign with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So very interesting to note there. It sounds like the Jackets could be listening on offers on him. They're already listening on offers for Werenski. So I do wonder where that goes as we go on later into the night. We're just over 2 hours into our live stream. We've just passed the 7 p.m. Mountain Time mark. And we're just about halfway through the draft now. So once again, it's been on for about, I think the first 20 minutes were just talking and things like that. So it's been on for about a good, 4 hour and 35 minutes, something like that. Hour and 45 minutes. So once again, it's not being too badly. So very good stuff there. Let's see here if there's any other updates here. It doesn't look like it. Let's see here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just double checking everything here. So McTavish has gone to St. Louis. He was number 8 or number 6 on my end-to-end hockey trade board, which you guys can go check out. It's on my blog. You guys can check that out in the description below. So very interesting to note there. Once again, apparently the Ducks making this trade was a contingent on Klepov being there, according to Pierre LeBrun. Once he was still there, the Ducks made a deal with the St. Louis Blues. Let's see. Once again, the Ducks have more cap flexibility and aim to improve this team this year. So Ducks, apparently, according to Pierre LeBrun, are far from done. They're not done. I do wonder if they try and flip the 29th overall pick, which is now theirs. So very interesting to note there. Once again, the Blues, not a bad trade for them either. So the Blues are on the clock right now for about the next 2 minutes, just to get ahead of the curve. I'm going to switch it over to pick 17, which will be the Los Angeles Kings. So just hold on a minute here, folks. Let's change this over to Los Angeles. Hold on a minute here, folks. I think Los Angeles is somewhere here, if I'm correct. Let's see. So that should be Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton, LA. So I think this is the Kings. Yes, it is. Okay. So the Kings are going to be on the clock now. As soon as the Blues pick is in, we'll see if they maybe try and trade the 16th overall pick the 16th overall pick too. This will be pick number 17 in a couple minutes for Los Angeles. So very interesting to note there. Once again, if you guys are just joining us, some very interesting fireworks. McTavish was just dealt for 2 first-round picks by the St. Louis Blues. So the Blues now have McTavish. And the Anaheim Ducks used that 15th overall pick to take Klepov. The Vegas Golden Knights acquired a couple of first-round picks and a third-round pick from the Rangers for Pavel Dorofeyev, who promptly signed a 7-year extension in New York with an $11 million AAV. So a little bit of a surprise deal there. And then we also saw 2 first-round picks go to Utah in exchange for J.J. Peterka, so not a bad pickup there for the Utah Mammoth. The Blues are on the clock. They have made their selection with the 16th overall pick. The St. Louis Blues select. Let's see who it is here. Is it Belchitz? Quebec Ramparts. No, they take Dagna. Okay, so the Blues go center here, and they take Maddox Dagna. So Savanto's falling a little bit here now after this pick here. So a couple of center prospects now taken by the St. Louis Blues. Maddox Dagna's a pretty dang good player. So they got Dagna, they got Lawrence, they now acquired McTavish. So Blues loading up down the middle with a couple of really stellar center prospects and centers. So once again, I had Dagna, but I think I had Dagna in the late portion of the 20s. Like I think I had him going to the Rangers at the pick 26. I think that was what I mocked him at in my last one. So yeah, big time center. Once again, the Blues are stocking up on centers. Let's go over some of Dagna's stats from over the past little while. Dagna is a center prospect, 6'4", 196 pounds, going to be a beast to play against. Once again, just like with Lawrence, I could see him be a second line center behind Robert Thomas long term. He's got 30 goals and 62 points in 62 QMJHL games. Going to need a couple of years of development time, but not a bad pickup here for the St. Louis Blues. Really stellar addition here for St. Louis. And once again, the Blues have, in the span of an hour, have been able to acquire Tyler Lawrence, who was one of the best center prospects available, Maddox Dagna, who's one of the biggest center prospects projected to go in the first round, and Mason McTavish, who's a guy who can play second line center minutes as early as next year. So, really solid pickup here for the St. Louis Blues as they are just loading up on center talent. Once again, all these guys are probably not going to play at center at the NHL level. It's very likely that a couple of them might shift to the wing. But either way, a really stellar pickup here from the Blues as they're able to take Maddox Dagna. So very interesting to note there. Let's see. Once again, the Kings are about to be on the clock. So you guys are not missing anything. They're just speaking with Dagna after he got taken by the St. Louis Blues. So very interesting to note there. Let's see what else is happening here. Yes, pick was once again great stuff there from the Anaheim Ducks to get Klepov, who I think eventually could be a really stellar addition there for them. So very interesting note there. Looks like not a whole bunch of else is being talked about at this current point in time. So very interesting to note there. Let's see exactly what else is happening at this point. So really good stuff there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, I really do like this addition here for the Anaheim Ducks taking Klepov, and St. Louis, once again, great amount of centers now. So let's see, once again, it doesn't look like there's any sort of things happening right now. We'll see if anything winds up coming. But once again, Blues have added centers. Once again, first it was Lawrence, who they acquired with the 12th overall pick. Hold on a minute here, folks. First it was Lawrence. Okay. We have once again, they're just announcing the GM Gregory of the Year award, which they usually do during the draft. So it looks like they're just announcing the year. So the finalists were Guerin, who's the coach of the Guerin, who is coach of the Minnesota Wild, McFarland, who is coach of the Colorado Avalanche, and the other one was Verbeek, coach of the Anaheim Ducks. Hold on a minute here, folks. Tavish and Dagna in the last hour. Okay, so really good stuff there. Once again, they're just announcing the GM Gregory of the Year award. This is the last award they always give out. So very interesting to note there. Really solid stuff there so far. So once again, really solid stuff from the Blues. They have added 3 centers in the last hour who I think could eventually be stellar additions for the Blues. Let's see. Hold on, who are they announcing? It looks like it's going to be GM of the Gregory of the Year award. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. It is going to be... Hold on a minute here, let me just see. I think it's actually Bill Guerin who's going to get the GM of the Year award. So very interesting to note there, but Guerin, it looks like, is winning the GM of the Year award. Remember, I think it was Jim Nill last 2 or 3 years in a row who's won the GM of the Year award. So now it is going to be Bill Guerin. So very interesting to note there. Guerin is going to win the NHL's GM of the Year award. Once again, he's done some fantastic work for Minnesota. Acquired Quinn Hughes, made some great moves at the trade deadline, made Minnesota into a really solid team that I think can stay there if they can sign Quinn Hughes for quite some time. And with Colorado and Dallas probably going to be regressing next year, I think the division is open for Minnesota to start to take that division away from the Stars and the Avalanche. Once again, there's some younger teams like a Utah, like a St. Louis, like a Chicago, who I think could be up and coming in the very near future. But I do think that the Minnesota Wild could be able to make their way to the top of the division as early as next year. So once again, not surprising, Guerin is able to take it. Once again, the Kings now have the 17th overall pick. They're on the clock. So very good stuff there. Let's see. Guerin is now making a speech as the Kings are on the clock. So we are going to change some things up here. With pick 17 now there, we're going to put the Capitals up there for pick 18. Once again, the Kings are on the clock right now with pick 17. It's about to change over to pick 18. So that's very interesting to note there. I think this is the Caps, if I'm correct. Yes, that is the Caps. Okay. So the Caps are going to have pick number 18 thanks to the John Carlson deal. So I do wonder who the Caps pick here at number 18. It'll be very interesting to note there. Let's see exactly who is going to be on the clock here after the Kings once again. So the Kings, I'm expecting Suvanto. Let's actually look at some of the bigger prospects that are still available here because I'm starting to forget. Once we got into the 20s, I don't remember all the players who are on the draft clock. So let's look at some of the bigger players who could be available here. So you got Suvanto, top end center prospect in St. Louis. You've got Lynn in Los Angeles. You've got Holbert You've got Belchitz, Hermanson, Villeneuve, Dagna, Novotny, Ruck, Morozov, Preston, Rogowski, Blell. So there's a couple of distant players there. Are you sure, Marshall, there's a trade to Los Angeles? Let's see if that's confirmed yet or not. Let's see if there's anything here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if Marshall is right here. It does look like there might be a trade here for the Kings. We'll see. Once again, the Kings were one of the teams that I did say is very likely to use that pick as trade fodder. So we shall see if that winds up happening here. Once again, they do have 1 minute and 4 seconds left. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Once again, I do apologize. Once again, the Kings are still on the clock, at least on my stream feed. They still have 1 minute left on the thing, but if Marshall is right, the Kings might be making a trade here. So, once again, I do wonder if that's maybe like a Vincent Trocheck. Once again, I've said before, I even mock traded him twice in my most recent mock trades. Trocheck should go to Los Angeles. I could get the Rangers 17th overall, which could get them back into the draft here. We really don't have a 26th overall pick after the Dorofia deal. So I do wonder. Let's see here. Once again, they're just talking to Caleb Malhotra. Once again, just drafted by Manny Malhotra. The Canucks playing for head coach Manny Malhotra, so very interesting to note there. Looks like there is going to be maybe a trade here, so let's see exactly what winds up happening here. Once again, if you guys are just joining us, we've had some very interesting picks so far. Once again, I don't think there's been too many surprises. Cullen at 10 is a little bit of a surprise. Kaman at 12 is a little bit of a surprise. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Kuman's a little bit of a surprise. So yeah, this pick's going zeros, but it looks like the commissioner's coming out. It looks like there's going to be a trade here, maybe, because they never said pick is in. So I think there's a trade here for sure. Let's see if Marshall is right here. It looks like he is. It looks like there is going to be a trade. Let's see. Once again, there's been a lot more trades than there was last year. I'll tell you that. Let's see. Hold on. Yep, there's been a trade. Trade alert here for the Kings. Let's see if what is going to happen here. What is the big trade here between the LA Kings and the Utah Mavs? The Kings trade pick 17 in the draft to Utah for 19 and 82. So a little bit of a pick swap here. Nothing too substantial, but Utah trades a couple of picks up. I wonder who they have in mind with the 17th overall pick now. So obviously LA feels like they can get whoever they can get 17 at 19. So we'll see. I do wonder who the Utah Mammoth go after here. Remember, they have pick 17 here, so let's actually change some things back here because I thought the Kings would have probably picked. So that goes back to 17th. Let's go to the Utah Mammoth, and let's see who the Mammoth are potentially going to try and draft. So I think Utah is right here, if I'm correct. Yes, it is. Okay. So that's the Utah Mammoth. They have now picked 17. We'll see who the Utah Mammoth go after. Once again, they had picked 19 to begin with. So obviously they could still try and trade pick 23, but they obviously feel like they get someone here who could really help their team. And once again, let's just look at some of the prospects here that could be potentially available here for the Utah Mammoth. If they're looking for forwards, center help in particular, you could go after, hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. They can go after Suvanto. They can go after Morozov. They can go after Hexal. They can go after Rogowski. If they're looking for forward help, they could go after Belchitz. They could go after Hermanson. They could go after Hurlbert, Novotny, one of the Ruck brothers, Preston. So there's a couple of different options there for Utah. If they're going defense, you got Ryan Lynn. You got Xavier Villeneuve. You've got Tony Blell. You've got William Hackinson. You've got a couple of other decent defenders there that they could wind up going after. So, well, very interesting to to see who the Utah Mammoth go after here. I think I picked them to go after Novotny with a winger spot. I think, if I'm correct, or Hermanson when I did my mock draft. So I do wonder if they may try and go through a winger route. We'll wait and see. Either way, I think the Kings are probably going to get Suvanto at 19th overall. That'll be my guess. So maybe the Kings Caps go after Lynn or Belchitz. That's a possibility at 18th overall. So we shall see exactly what ends up happening here. Once again, let's see what else is going to be happening here. Hold on a minute here, folks. So once again, do appreciate all of you guys. If you haven't already, leave a like on the video, comment, subscribe down below. We're trying to hit 750 subscribers in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys can and hit the 725 subscribers by the end of tomorrow's draft, that'll be great. So really good stuff there if you guys want to. Once again, Utah is still on the clock. They are ticking. Once again, that pick's going to be used in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to change it back to Washington. So let's change it back to the Cappies here. Let's see. I think this is Washington. No, actually, it's probably not. I think this is Washington. Is that Washington? Yes, okay. So the Caps are going to be on the clock here. Looks like the pick is just about to be dropped in. So let's see who the Mammoth go after at 17th overall. Let's see here. Once again, let's see. Bettman's just making some announcements here. Let's see. They're just thanking some of the people for being there tonight. So very interesting to know there. Let's see. They're just talking about some things. Once again, the Utah Mammoth. It looks like the pick is in, but they're just going to talk about some things first. So very interesting to note there. Once again, I do wonder what the Utah picks with the 17th overall draft selection. I do think they're going to take a couple of very interesting players here. I remember they also do have pick 23s, but thanks in part to the JJ Peterka trade. So very interesting to note there. So Caps are going to be on the clock here. It's the 18th overall pick in just a couple of seconds here. Let's see if I can maybe just go and fix this here a little bit. So right winger Nikita Klepov goes to Anaheim. So that was a pretty good pickup there for the Ducks. At 16th overall, you got the St. Louis Blues. They go after Dagna, so we'll change that to Dagna. So he's a center, so Maddox Dagne, D-A-G-E, I think it was. So that's really good stuff there. And then the Kings and Mammoth have swapped. So Mammoth are now pick 17. Oh, that's not good. Okay, let's switch this back. And the Kings are now pick 19, so a little bit of a draft swap there. So not too bad there. Kings, let's do that. Okay, I think that's all good now. I think that's up to date now. So once again, really solid stuff there. McKenna, Stenberg, Malholtra, Rudolph, Smits, Carels. Then it was followed up by Reid, followed up by Bjorck, followed up by Veerhoff, followed up by Cullen, then it was Lawrence, then it was Kaman, then it was Gustafsson, followed up by Hemming, then Klepov, and then it was St. Louis taking, once again, St. Louis took Dagna. That's right. So now the Utah Mammoth are just about to announce the pick. So very good stuff there for the Utah Mammoth, and we'll see who Utah winds up taking with this pick. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. They're just talking about some things, and then they're going to announce the pick. So you guys are not missing a thing. Once again, the draft order has been shifted a little bit from where I had it. So if you guys are just looking for updated draft, so 18th overall is going to be Washington. That stays the same. 19th overall is going to be Los Angeles after a pick swap. 20th overall is still Buffalo. 21st overall is still Philly. 22nd overall is still Pittsburgh. 23rd overall is now Utah, thanks to in part to the JJ Peterka trade. 24th overall is still Vancouver. 25th overall is still Ottawa. 26th overall is now Vegas, thanks in part to the Dorofiev deal. 27th overall is San Jose. 28th overall is Montreal. 29th overall is Anaheim, thanks in part to the McTavish deal. 30th overall is Calgary. 31st overall is Carolina. And 32nd overall is Ottawa. Those are all staying the same. So very interesting to note there. Once again, we shall see what winds up happening here. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'll be with you guys tomorrow too, 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for round 2 of the NHL Entry Draft. I always do round 2 as well. I'm going to stay with you guys for probably round 2 through round 4. Afterwards, I'm probably going to sign off, but we always see some big trades on the second day of the draft. There's always some very interesting pieces of news, and I always like to see who doesn't get picked in round one, how far do they trickle down. So very interesting to know there. But once again, I will be with you guys tomorrow for rounds 2 through 4 of the NHL Entry Draft. And of course, I will also be with you guys on Wednesday for the start of free agency. Once again, free agency is going to be very, very lackluster this year. So I also have things to do because it's Canada Day. I'm Canadian. So I will probably only do like a hour and a half, 2 hour live stream after after the free agency starts. So probably not going to be a very long live stream on Wednesday, but I will be doing a live stream. So very interesting to know there. They're just selecting the Utah Mammoth pick right now. And the Mammoth, it looks like, are taking with the 17th overall pick in this year's draft, Ethan Belchitz. This is going to be a monster of a pick here for the Utah Mammoth. This is just going to make them a ton better. Once again, Belchitz is a monster of a player on the forward group. Let's just take a look at some of his stats and other things here from this past year. Once again, Belchitz, left winger. He's 6'5", 229 pounds. He is a beast on the ice. Once again, he put 34 goals, 59 points in 57 games. He's going to be a legit power forward type player. Yet add him to a top six that already has Gunther and Cooley and Keller and Schmalz. I'm not sure he'll make it this year. Probably won't. But maybe next year or the year after, Belchitz is going to be a beast to play against. And I do agree, Marshall, he could easily be the next Tom Wilson. He's going to be a good physical presence in the top six who can score goals and put up points. I've predicted him to go to New Jersey because I was thinking the Devils will go after him to be sort of what they were hoping Timo Meier to be at one point. And once again, they want to go and come on. This is a brilliant pickup here for the Utah Mammoth. My pick and taking Belchitz after he fell a couple of spots in the draft. So Washington is now up next. I do wonder who Washington goes after. Once again, they usually go best player available, so I do wonder if they go for a forward or a defenseman. They've added some forward help recently. They could probably use a couple of more extra defensive help, so I do wonder if they go Ryan Lynn. I wonder if they try and add some sort of a defensive help, maybe Xavier Villeneuve on the defensive end. You got Suvanto still on the forward group at the center spot, so I do wonder if they go after Suvanto. Could probably use another center prospect. They've also got a couple of other ones, so I do wonder who the Caps go after here at 18th overall, but they got some very interesting options here with a couple of other guys having fallen. So very interesting to know there. I'm going to switch this over now to the Los Angeles Kings with the Caps just about to be on the clock. So let's move this here a little bit. So let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. This is Ducks. This is Flames. This is Oilers. I think this is still Kings. Yes, this is Kings. Okay. So the Kings are good. And then they are going to be picking number 19. So Caps are now going to be on the clock with pick 18. So very interesting note there. We're going to commercial breaks. You're not missing a thing. Very interesting note there. Kings are now on the clock. Or Caps are now on the clock with pick 18. And then we'll go to pick 19 for the Los Angeles Kings. So very interesting to note there. Once again, yeah. Belchitz is an absolute beast. He's going to be scary to play against. And it's not only that he's a huge player and he's a physical presence, because we've seen some of those guys, but he's a physical presence who can put the puck in the net and put points on the board. So, like I said, it's going to take him a couple of years of development time. But yeah, that's going to be a stellar, fantastic pickup there for the Utah Mammoth taking Belchitz. And I can see why you as a Caps fan would have wanted him, Marshall. Imagine him playing with Tom Wilson and one of the Protest brothers. Imagine what that line would have looked like. That would have been probably the most scary line to play against in the entirety of hockey. So, once again, I know that you as a Caps fan would have wanted him, but yeah, Belchitz is going to be such a fantastic ad for the Mammoth. Once again, I do agree with you. Yeah, Lynn, Savanto are a couple of guys who I'm probably looking at here for the Washington Capitals. Maybe Novani. Novani might actually be a really solid pickup here for the Caps. Let's see here, folks. Hold on a minute here, folks. Other guys who could want to be taken here. I wonder about Hermanson. I did think mock draft Hermanson to Washington at one point. So I do wonder if they go after Hermanson. Villeneuve, if they wanted to go for a defenseman who has a little more size to him. So I could see him go after Villeneuve. If they wanted to go for a different center, I do wonder about Ivan Morozov. That could be another interesting pickup, or Ilya Morozov, who could be another interesting pickup there for the Caps. So it'll be very interesting to see who the Caps go after here, whether it's Morozov or Chivanto or Lynn or Villeneuve or Novotny or Hermanson. So I do really want to see who the Caps go after here at pick number 18. So once again, we're over halfway through the draft, which is absolutely fantastic. So really good stuff there. Like I said, even though it's already 2.5 hours in and probably around 2 hours into the actual draft portion of the draft, it's actually going a lot quicker than I was expecting. So that's very fantastic stuff there. I probably do have to go off at 8:30. So once again, we'll see how long these next 15 picks go. If it's around the next hour, I'll probably try and stay on until the end of it. If it's a little bit, if it looks like we're at pick like 24, 25, and we're still doing it in an hour, then I might try and sign off a little bit early, but we'll see how things wind up going. I mean, we're already at pick 18, so I probably will stay for the entirety of the draft, even if it maybe creeps a little bit closer to 9 o'clock at night. But yeah, once again, it's been a really solid draft so far. And yeah, Belchitz to Utah, that's going to be a very fantastic pickup. So once again, first round picks traded on draft day. We've already had 8 first round picks traded on draft day. Last year there was 6. 2024 there was 7, and in 2023 there was none. There was no trades. Oh, sorry, that's trades. Picks. There was 8 already so far tonight on draft day, and I think there was 10 last year. So very interesting to note there. We've gotten at least a couple of NHL trades, which is something I always love to see. I'm actually going to switch hats here, folks, because we're getting up there close to the Ottawa hat. So I'm going to switch out the Seattle hat for the Ottawa hat. So once again, Ottawa's going to be picking 25th and 32nd here. So they are going to be picking in the next couple of spots. So that's really good stuff there. Once again, 30 seconds here for the Washington Capitals, and then they're going to be making their selections. So we shall see who the Cappies go after here at 18th overall. Once again, 19th overall will be Los Angeles. 20th overall will wind up being the other ones. So, yeah, once again, yeah, Jenner could be a good fit there for the Caps in the bottom 6. Once again, Jenner, I think, is going to have a lot of suitors. I don't think he's going back to Columbus, and I think he probably could get like $4 to $5 million on the open market. He's a decent third liner. I'm not sure if the Caps are going to be able to outbid some of the other guys. So it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening there. But I could see Jenner be a really good fit in Washington. I do agree with that, Marshall. So let's see what the Caps pick up here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. It is going to be Oliver Suvanto, taken by the Washington Capitals. A huge pickup here for the Washington Capitals. Really good stuff there. Once again, like I said Suvanto is probably going to go in the top 15 of the draft, probably like between 10 and 15. Recently, I projected him to go 17 to Los Angeles, so this is right around where I was expecting him to go. Once again, the Caps have a pretty decent team, but one of their problems, I think, or one of their things that they could really work on is their center group. They have some decent centers. Don't get me wrong. Strom's a pretty good center. Dubois is a pretty good center, but they just traded Connor McMichael, and they don't have a really solid amount of young up-and-coming centers. So I think adding Suvanto is a really stellar pickup here for the Caps. Let's just look at a couple of stats here from Suvanto. Once again, I do think he's going to be a really solid pickup here for the Caps. He's 6'3", 209 pounds, so he's got some size to him. He's not going to be an easy player to play against. He put up 2 goals and 11 points in 48 games. So very interesting to know there. Once again, I do think he's going to have some size to him. He's going to be really tough to play against. Put him between a couple of guys like Kyrou. Eventually, as your top line center, have him play with Suvanto. That could be a really solid fit there for the Washington Capitals. So, I like this pickup here for the Caps. I was expecting them to go Kaman, who I thought would have been the best center available, but Suvanto is the best center available. Like I said, they have some pretty decent defensive prospects, and their wingers are really, really good. But they could use some more center help. So, I like this pickup here from the Caps. I think Suvanto makes a ton of sense for Washington. And like I said, and I think in a couple of years' time, after a couple of years of development, Suvanto is going to be a very, very fantastic addition here for the Caps. So really good pickup here for the Caps as they take Suvanto. Michael Russo's recently speculating that there's some wild news on the horizon. I do wonder what that is. I do wonder what he's talking about. Maybe the Wild making a trade. So very interesting to know there. Once again, we just got the full results for the GM of the Year award rankings. So Guerin won with 131 points, followed by McFarland who had 123. Those were two frontrunners. Then was Verbeek who had 29 votes. And then it was Dubois who had 21, Hughes who had 20, and Tulski who had 14. Those were the only other guys who had 10 plus points in voting. So very interesting note there, but Tulski was 6th, Ken Hughes was 5th, Kyle Dubas was 4th, Pat Verbeek was 3rd, McFarland was 2nd, and Guerin was 1st. So very interesting note there. Pagnola recently mentioned some things. He says, in addition to San Jose, some talks that Dallas has expressed serious interest in Zach Werenski. So Dallas is trying to pull off a Zach Werenski trade. Flyers remain in talks with teams about moving pick 21, and the Canadians are very interested in Kirill Marchenko. So those are some notes from Pagnola. He's mentioning that Dallas has some serious interest in Werenski. Flyers are open to moving pick 21, and the Habs have some very interest in Kirill Marchenko. So very interesting to note there. We shall see what winds up happening there. Once again, we are now with the Kings on the clock here. This is what it seems like. So very good stuff there from the Caps, taking Oliver Suvanto. Once again, the people on the feed are just talking to Gavin McKenna, so not too surprising there. Once again, Kings are now going to be on the clock. Remember, they traded down 2 spots. They let the Mammoths get Belchitz, and they let the Caps get Suvanto. So I do wonder who they currently have going on right now. It'll be very interesting to see. Once again, it'll be very interesting to see who they wind up going after here. Once again, they're just talking to McKenna right now. Kings are on the clock. So after this, it will be pick 20. Pick 20 is going to be the Buffalo Sabres. That's going to be an interesting pick because I do think the Sabres could wind up moving that pick if they do wind up finding a right deal. I don't know who they try and target, but I could see them trying maybe add like a top 6 winger to try and replace Alex Tuch. So I do wonder if they try and do something like that. They just acquired Allen Zellweger earlier this tonight. So I do wonder if they try and make some sort of other moves. One thing, if you guys can see over here, is the next upcoming picks. And just to let you guys know, pick 23 on that little side is now the Utah Mammoth. Pick 26 is currently the Vegas Golden Knights, and pick 29 is the Anaheim Ducks. So a couple of the picks on that side have been swapped a little bit. So very interesting note there. Hold on a minute here, guys. Let me move a couple of things around. The Kings have about 2 minutes left here on the clock, and they're going to be making their selection. So very interesting to note there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. And yeah, I'm just going to try and put some things around here on the screen just to update it here a little bit. So the Caps, let's see here, Klepov, the Dagna, Utah took Belchitz, so Utah took a left winger, Ethan Belchitz, so very good stuff there for the Mammoth. And the Capitals took Suvanto, so Washington takes Oliver Suvanto. So good stuff there for the Caps, good stuff there for the Mammoth. Those are some very interesting ones that have just been taken. Let's just really quickly maneuver this here. I think I forgot this one here. So Suvanto's supposed to be a center. So that's really good stuff there. Okay, there's about 50 seconds left here in the side of the Kings. So once again, I don't have to change anything around yet. I might have to make it a little bit, readjust the size if I do if it's not enough space. So once again, the Kings are about to make their selection. Then it will be the Buffalo Sabres again. So we're actually going to go straight to the Buffalo Sabres here. Let's see. That's the Buffalo Sabres, I think. Yes. Okay, so the Sabres. This is going to be pick number 20. So that's going to be pick 20 for the Sabres. Once again, Kings have 16 seconds left before they make their selection. So we are going to be interested to see there. So once again, some really good pickups here. Like I think Suvanto really helps the Caps. Belchitz is going to be a force to reckon with by the Utah Mammoth. The Blues getting Lawrence, McTavish, and Dagna. I think are really solid pickups there for the Blues. The Jackets, Hemming, I think is a pretty good pickup there for them. The Islanders getting Gustafsson, just going to make that defense ever more elite. And we've seen some other really good picks in the top 10. Once again, the commissioner is back to announce the Los Angeles Kings selection. As the Kings with the 19th overall pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft. It's like Elton Hermanson. Okay, so Hermanson is going to go to the Los Angeles Kings. A little bit surprising here. I thought they go for a center or maybe a defenseman, but they go another winger here. Not bad pickup here. Hermanson's a really solid prospect. Let's look at a couple of his stats from this past year. Once again, this is where I was expecting Hermanson to go around the 19, 20, 21 area. So not too bad there. 6 foot 183 pounds for the Buffalo Sabres, or for the LA Kings. He wound up being taken by the Kings. 11 goals, 21 points in 38 Hockey Allsvenskan games. So once again, didn't look like a half bad prospect. I think eventually he could be a really solid second line, maybe even top line winger, putting up like 60, 70 points. Not the greatest of goal scorers, but he has a wicked shot to him. So like maybe he can put up like 25 to 30 goals. He could maybe push 35 at his like peak. So very interesting to note there. Not a bad pickup here from the Kings, as they are able to take Hermanson, who I think is a really solid pickup there. So now that leaves the Buffalo Sabres on the clock, and the Kings having yet another winger here on their team. So once again, I thought they would have probably gone after a center or a defenseman because they could really have used it, but interesting to note there. So let's see what else happens here. Once again, just looking at some things that could be happening from around the NHL. Once again, we know that LA's traded down. Pagnotta's also mentioned that seems like teams are asking about the Brinkets. So it sounds like there's a big extension. So once again, I did mention this a little bit of times in the last couple of weeks. It seems like Alex DeBrincat could potentially be had, especially if the Wings deal Dylan Larkin. He's interested in if his deal with DeBrincat really want to extend in Detroit with the direction that they are going right now. So I have seen a couple of varying reports saying that DeBrincat could potentially be had for the right price. So I do wonder if we do see a DeBrincat trade at some point over the next couple of days. Once again, I do think there will be some teams out there who would have some major interest. So very interesting to note there. Let's see if there's anything else. Once again, Buffalo is now on the board. They're now waiting for their pick. So really solid stuff there for the Buffalo Sabres. We'll see who they wind up selecting at 20th overall. We might have a trade here, guys. Hold on. It looks like Bettman is going to the Buffalo Sabres unless they just picked someone here. Let's see. Once again, they've been mocked to potentially be moving that pick. Let's see. It looks like they're actually just trying to talk to Bill Guerin right now. So maybe there's no trade. It looks like they're just talking to Bill Guerin, who just won GM of the Year award. So very interesting to note there. So once again, they're just talking to Bill Guerin right now with Buffalo on the clock right now. So very interesting to note there. So for the Sabres, they've already taken a little bit earlier in this draft by nabbing Daxon Rudolph. So I think they probably go forward upgrade here. I would not be surprised if they went center and tried to take Morozov. I would not be surprised if they went winger here, maybe try to take Novotny. Maybe they go for another defenseman here. I could see him go after Ryan Lynn after already taking Rudolph. So I'm not exactly sure which direction the Sabres go. There's been a lot of talk about the Sabres moving the 20th overall pick. So I do wonder if they maybe try and do that. I'm not exactly sure what the Sabres are going to do here, but it'll be very interesting to see what Buffalo does wind up doing. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Just looking for any sort of thing. Hold on a minute here. It doesn't look like there's any sort of big things going on right now. Let's see if there's any sort of news updates. The Canadiens... apparently, the Mammoth are also looking to try and acquire Kirill Marchenko on top of Montreal. So that's apparently, according to David Pagnotta, that's some very interesting info. Once again, Utah adding Marchenko could be lethal to that top six. Utah could be a scary team going forward if they are able to pull off a Marchenko trade. So once again, just like with a couple of other teams, they have the cap space to make some of these deals happen. So it will be interesting to see exactly how that winds up going. Once again, it doesn't look like there's any other things right now. The only thing that's been happening recently is that Pagnotta says that the Mammoth are in on Kirill Marchenko. So very interesting to know there. Buffalo Sabres are now on the clock. So once again, they're just going to be waiting for their selection. There's 30 seconds left here for the Buffalo Sabres. They're just about to make their pick. So I'm just going to quickly change this over here. 21 was the Philadelphia Flyers. Watch out because the Flyers might try and move this pick. So we'll see. I think this is Philadelphia. Yes, this is Philadelphia. Okay. They might try and move their pick like David Pagnotta said. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. So we shall see what the Philadelphia Flyers do here at pick number 21. Once again, the Sabres have 10 seconds left on the clock, and then they're going to have to make their pick or trade the pick. That's a possibility too. So we shall see what the Buffalo Sabres do here. 1-0, and the pick is not in. We might actually have a trade here. Let's see. Buffalo, once again, the pick is in. Okay, so the pick is in. So the Sabres do have the pick. Let's see who they wind up going after. The pick is in for the Buffalo Sabres. And let's see who they go after. Once again, the Sabres already went the fence, so I think they go forward here. I wouldn't be surprised Novotny. I wouldn't be surprised if they went Morozov. I wouldn't be surprised if they went some other players here. So let's see who they go after here at number 20 overall. So let's see who they go after. Let's see, Buffalo with the 20th overall pick in the selection. They take, who is it? Who is that selection here at 20th overall for the Buffalo Sabres? It is, let's see here, from Miami University. It is Ilya Morozov. Okay, so they did go center here. That's what I thought they possibly could do. There was a lot of talk that they were going to pick center at 4th. But they pick center at 20th, and they go after Morozov. So not a bad pickup here for the Sabres here. Morozov has some size to him, pretty decent player, and I do think he could be a really solid addition here long term for Buffalo, maybe eventually being their second line center, maybe behind a guy like Tage Thompson, or maybe even their first line center if they move Thompson to the wing. He's 6'3", 201 pounds. He had 8 goals and 20 points in 36 NCAA games. So another behemoth of a player here for the Buffalo Sabres. Really solid pickup here for Buffalo. Once again, I do think this is going to be a really solid addition here for the Sabres. Let's see here. Taking Morozov is just a really stellar addition here for Buffalo. So once again, that's one of the best centers left on the market that has now been taken off the market. So very interesting to note there. So we got a couple of other interesting teams here coming up. We got Philadelphia now on the clock. Pittsburgh's going to be after them, then Utah, and then the Vancouver Canucks followed by the Ottawa Senators. So I'd be looking at the Philadelphia pick, the Utah pick, and the Ottawa pick as potential ones that could get dealt. So I'd be very interested to keep an eye on these next few picks. And then, of course, the 26th overall pick with Vegas and the 27th overall pick with San Jose, I think, could also get dealt. So we shall see what winds up happening here. Let's see exactly what winds up happening here for the next few picks. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Yeah, it sounds like Marchenko's unwilling to re-sign on an extension for the Jackets. Let's see here. Once again, there's a lot of players here right now who are potentially being had for the right price. I think only one of my players on my end-to-end hockey trade bait list has been taken off. Well, Zellweger this morning too. So both my Ducks players who are on my end-to-end hockey trade bait list I made this morning have been taken off. That's Zellweger, that's McTavish. Zellweger was 18th. McTavish was, I think, 6th. So those two guys are gone. If you guys want to check out my top 10 of my mock draft, you guys can. I just want to tell you guys here really quickly who I have on my trade bait board in my top 10. So my first player on my trade bait board is Dylan Larkin. We'll see if he winds up getting moved tonight. Second player is Vincent Trocheck. We'll see if he gets moved tonight. The third player was Darnell Nurse. The fourth player was Connor Hellebuyck. The fifth player was Morgan Riley. The sixth player was McTavish, who's now gone. The seventh player was, I think, Blake Coleman. 8 was Dougie Hamilton. 9 was Dougie Hamilton. 8 was... Oh, who did I have 8? Binnington was 8. And number 10 was Jake DeBrusk. So DeBrusk is still there. You still have Hamilton. You still have Binnington. You still have Hellebuyck. You still have Nurse. You still have Trocheck. You still have Larkin. You still have Riley. So there's a lot of players in my top 10 of my mock draft who still have not been traded yet. So I think we could still see some fireworks here tonight. A lot of the later round picks, I think, could end up getting moved. 21st overall Philadelphia, 23rd overall Utah, 25th overall Ottawa, 26th overall Vegas, 27th overall San Jose, 29th overall Anaheim. I think could all end up getting dealt, even 31st overall Carolina. So we shall see what ends up happening here. Once again, looks like they're going to a commercial break, so you guys are not missing a thing. I will just really quickly go over here and see if there's any sort of other things here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, they're in a commercial break, so very interesting to know there. Let's see here, folks. Once again, it looks like the Ducks are only going to do that deal with the Blues if Nikita Klepov was available. So they must be really high on Nikita Klepov if they really want him that badly. So once again, let's see. The AAV is just shy of what Igor Shesterkin is making for the Pavel Dorofeyev contract. So, like I said, that's a little bit of an iffy contract and move there for the New York Rangers. Let's see. Very interesting to note here. Let's see what else winds up happening. Once the game, it looks like the Columbus Blue Jackets are just having a mass exodus because it looks like Marchenko's not going to sign there. Eventually, Werenski's not going to sign there. So, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it looks like they're going to be taking it all the way down, it seems like, at this point. So, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with the Blue Jackets going forward. Do they move Marchenko, Werenski? They got so close to the playoffs last 2 years, man. Now, they look like a team who's probably going to be regressing. Like, as much as I really would like them to make the playoffs, I think the Jackets and Wings are two of the teams that are going to be regressing the most this year in the Eastern Conference. Now I could see Pittsburgh and I could see the Penguins regress a little bit this offseason. Even after acquiring Peterka, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bruins maybe regress a tiny bit more too. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa regressed a little bit. Philadelphia, same sort of thing. So I think there's a couple of player teams out there in the Eastern Conference who might regress. Now we already know Florida's going to be back. Toronto's probably going to be a lot better than this year. We got a couple of other teams out there too who I think could get a little bit better. Washington's one of them. So there's a couple of teams out there, but I definitely don't see Columbus and Detroit at this point in time making the playoffs. Like especially if Marchenko's moved, if Werenski's moved, if Detroit moves Larkin into the Brinket. Like I really feel for those fan bases. I think they're probably going to go at least another year or two, if not 3 or 4 years, without playoffs, especially with how competitive that Eastern Conference is right now. So very interesting to know there. We'll see what ends up happening. The Flyers are on the clock right now. Once again, they are looking at the New York Rangers room right now. Elliot Freeman is talking about the Orfeo deal right now. So I think the Flyers are just about to make a pick. We'll see. If they do make the pick, I'll switch it over to Los Angeles. Once again, we will be making some more moves here. Once again, we are in the latter half of the draft now. We're entering the final third of the first round of the NHL draft. Once again, it always goes faster on day 2, and it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. Once again, Dorofeyev signed a long-term extension with the New York Rangers. That's, in my opinion, completely absurd. I know he's a good player. I can see him making $8 to $9 million even with the cap going up. I think $11 million is just absolutely freaking absurd for Pavel Dorofeyev. So very interesting to know there. Let your guys' thoughts down in the comments on what you think so far of these moves that have happened so far. Any of the draft picks surprise you? The LA Utah pick swap, the St. Louis acquiring McTavish, the Bruins acquiring Peterka, the Rangers acquiring Dorofeyev. Any of those moves surprise you? Would love your guys' thoughts down in the chat below. Once again, they haven't said the pick is in yet for the Flyers. Let's see what ends up happening here. I wonder if the pick is in or not. So let's see. I may have to change some things up here. Let's see. The Flyers are on the clock right now. Once again, against the with the 21st overall pick. Let's see what ends up happening there. Let's see. It's taking a little bit of time here to announce this, so I do wonder if there's something here. Once again, maybe the Flyers are moving pick 21. Let's see what's going to happen here for the Philadelphia Flyers. They're going to have some very interesting things coming out here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, the pick should have been announced probably by now. So I do wonder if they do something here. Maybe trade down a little bit. Let's see. Once again, usually the late 20s is where you see a couple of pick swaps where a player trades down a couple of picks. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening here. Once again, I really do wonder what's happening here. It's taking a little bit of time here. I do wonder if there's a trade here for the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's see exactly what winds up happening here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if there's anything happening here from the other sources. Let's see if there's anything here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Anything else that looks like is being announced here? Can't really see. I do think there's a trade, Marshall. It does look like it. So let's see. Yeah, it seems like there's a pick here for the Philadelphia Flyers. I wonder if this is a pick swap or if the Flyers are making some sort of a bold move here. Let's see, 21st overall pick here at the NHL Entry Draft. And let's see if there's a little bit of a trade here for the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's see. The Philadelphia Flyers are making a trade here. Philadelphia Flyers trade pick 21 in this year's draft, the Sharks, in exchange for pick 27, 62, and 120. So the Sharks trade a late second. Hold on a minute here, folks. I think that's a late fourth. A late second, a late fourth, and 27 to San Jose for pick 21. So that means that the San Jose Sharks are now on the clock. So let's get the Sharks up there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's try and find the San Jose Sharks. Let's see. I had them up here a couple times earlier today. Let's see. San Jose is right. Vegas, Vancouver, Seattle, San Jose. So San Jose is over here. Pick 21, and now they are on the clock. So a pick swap here between the Sharks and the Flyers. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Suvanto. The Kings went up taking. Let's see here. It was Los Angeles took Hermanson, so winger. LA took winger Elton Hermanson. So that was a pretty good pickup there for the Kings, being able to get a pretty solid winger. And then the Buffalo Sabres wound up going center Ilya Morozov. So that was a pretty good pickup there for the Sabres, as they were able to get Ilya Morozov to help their center group long term. And then let's see here, the Philadelphia Flyers have now traded with the Mammoth. So the Mammoth or the Sharks, actually, mind you. So the Sharks still making some moves. And we'll see exactly what winds up happening here. And then 27th overall is now the Flyers. So that's some change-ups there. So that's really good stuff there. Okay, so that seems really good. So Suvanto, then you got Hermanson, and then you got Morozov. So very good stuff there. We'll see who the Sharks have taking here at 21st overall now after the trade. So we'll see what winds up happening here. Once again, it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening. Once again, the pick is in for the San Jose Sharks, so we'll see who they wind up taking here at 21st overall. So let's see exactly who they wind up selecting here. Once again, the Sharks are on the clock. This is their third pick. I do wonder if they take Ryan Lynn. Oh, imagine that. Imagine if the Sharks take Ryan Lynn along with Keaton Vierhoff. You've got a small puck-moving defenseman. And the WHL, they take Ryan Lynn. What an embarrassment of riches for the San Jose Sharks. You got right shot defenseman Ryan Lynn, right shot defenseman Keaton Vierhoff, and top-end winger Haifar Stenberg. San Jose is cooking. This team, even next year, but more likely in 2 to 3 years, is going to be one of the best, if not the best team in the entire NHL. This team is cooking. What a pickup here for the San Jose Sharks. Got 2D tonight and Stenberg. Yeah, Lynn, absolutely impressive. Like the San Jose Sharks, Vegas and Edmonton better watch out because they're both getting older. They're both getting slower. Vegas just traded Dorofiev. Who knows how the heck that Babcock situation is going to go next year. San Jose is coming, and they are going to be a pest in a lot of team sides for a long period of time. You got Celebrini, you got your star franchise player, you got a couple of defensemen coming up in the pipeline, you've got a great amount of forward prospects and players. That San Jose Sharks team, that's going to be scary. Remember, I'm a Knights fan, so I'm not overly following the Sharks, but I'm also a person who likes to see teams who do not have much success have success. And the San Jose Sharks do not have a Stanley Cup. They have only been to Stanley Cup once. I think this team is going to be a Stanley Cup champion in the next 3 to 5 years. The San Jose Sharks team is just absolutely scary good, and they just got a whole bunch better tonight. So really solid move there from the Sharks. They found Lynn at the 21st overall spot, and they went after him. So great pickup here for the San Jose Sharks, taking Ryan Lynn. That will lead us to a 22nd overall pick, which will be the Pittsburgh Penguins. So let me get that up there for you guys, as the Penguins are now going to be on the clock. So I think this is not the Penguins. I think the Penguins are right here. Yes, okay. So the Penguins are not going to be on the clock. This is going to be pick 22. And right shot defenseman Ryan Lynn is going to the San Jose Sharks. This is just an embarrassment of riches for the San Jose Sharks. The amount of draft capital they have been able to acquire and young prospects they've been able to draft over the past little while is absurd. So San Jose at 21st overall wind up taking Ryan Lynn. So a really solid pickup here. He is a right shot defenseman. Just so much needs that they needed. Once again, they have now McKenna on the left side. They have not Ferraro, but Dickinson on the left side. Now they have Verhoff and Lynn on the right side. That's your future top four. You got Muka Amadoulan, you've got Lynn, you've got Verhoff, you've got Dickinson. I think there's also a couple of other defensive prospects that they could put in there too. So, whoa, the San Jose Sharks are cooking, and they are doing some really entertaining things here. So, really solid stuff there from the Sharks. We're about 3 hours into our live stream here. Once again, pick 22 is about to come up here. Once again, if we get to pick like 26, 27 by 8:30, I'll probably stay on until the very end of the draft. If we're still at like pick 24, pick 25 by 8:30, I'll probably sign off. So we'll see what ends up happening there. If it seems like it's going to be done around 8:30 to 9, I'll probably stay on. If it seems like it's probably going to go after 9, I'll probably sign off. But we'll see what ends up happening here. So just once again, a really solid pickup here for the San Jose Sharks here, getting Ryan Lynn. So really solid stuff there. Let's go and check out Ryan Lynn. Hold on a minute here, folks. Lynn is a right shot defenseman. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let me get this loading. He's 5'11", 176 pounds, so a little bit on the smaller side. But he did have 14 goals and 57 points in 53 games. Guy who can make some magic happen on the smaller side. Very elite, elusive sort of defenseman. So I think this is going to be really solid. You got the big, strong King Verhoff, and then you got the smaller but elusive Ryan Lynn on that defensive court. That's going to be it's been such a good draft for the San Jose Sharks. Once again, there's a lot of talk that they could have moved those picks. I would have been surprised if they did, but they make some magic happen. So, once again, really solid stuff there. Once again, hold on a minute here, folks. Hold on a minute here, folks. So, very interesting to know there as we have some very interesting stuff here so far. So, very interesting to note there. But yeah, this is a great pickup here for the San Jose Sharks, getting Lynn at 21st overall. So once again, now the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the clock. They have about a minute and a half to decide if they want to use that pick or trade it. I have a feeling they'll use that pick. Pick 23 for Utah is going to be very, very interesting. And I do wonder if Vancouver and Ottawa maybe make a trade for pick 25 so the Canucks can take the Ruck brothers at 24th and 25th overall. This is right around where it seems like they were going to go. And I do wonder if the Ruck brothers fall to the Canucks, they try and take them together, because there's been a lot of talk that the Canucks are very high on the Ruck brothers, and just be very fitting for the first season that the Canucks have the Sedin twins as president of hockey ops, that they go after twins in the first round. It just makes so much sense for the Canucks. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening here. That's in a couple of picks. So once again, really solid pickup here for the San Jose Sharks as they get Ryan Lynn. The pick is in for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we're going to have to trade over here to the Utah Mammoth again. We'll see who the Pittsburgh Penguins wind up taking here. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to take with the 22nd overall pick in the NHL Entry Draft. Let's see who they go here. Medicine Hats. It is, let's see here. They do take Liam Ruck. The Penguins take one of the Ruck brothers. Okay, so forget what I was saying about the Canucks trading up to get the both Ruck brothers. Liam Ruck has taken by the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we'll see if the second twin goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, or maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins and Utah Mammoth make some sort of a trade. Once again, the Penguins have Rust and Raquel. The Mammoth needs some forward help, and the Mammoth are now on the clock with pick 23. Interesting to note there. We'll see if the Penguins go and try and trade up for the other Ruck brother. I do wonder what happens here. So very interesting to note there. Yeah, I thought it was maybe going to the Canucks, but yeah, I do wonder about Utah and Pittsburgh, maybe making some sort of a trade. I think that could be a really interesting pickup there for the Mammoth and the Penguins. It might make some sense. The Mammoth gets another solid top six forward. The Penguins get the other Ruck brother. That could be interesting. So I do wonder if that's something that winds up happening here. Once again, Marcus Ruck's still on the board, so I do wonder what the Utah Mammoth do here at number 23. Did they try and make a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins to get the other Ruck brother? I do wonder what that happens. Once again, if the Mammoth are able to turn the 23rd overall pick into Raquel or Rust to try and give the Penguins that 23rd overall pick to get the other Ruck brother, that could be some smart moving there from the Utah Mammoth. Once again, not a bad pickup here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's talk about how Ruck is going to affect the Penguins team. Let's see here. So once again, they take Liam Ruck. Let's see here, folks. Hold on a minute here, folks. Liam Ruck, who played with the Medicine Hat Tigers last time. I wonder if Dubas has something up his sleeve with the Utah Mammoth. I do wonder about that. Let's see here, folks. Liam Ruck is taken 22nd overall. He is a winger, I think. Right winger, 6 feet, 176 pounds. He can play in a variety of different positions. 45 goals, 104 points in 68 games over in the WHL. So not a bad pickup here for the Penguins. I think long term he has the potential to be a really solid second line, maybe even first line player. Probably will take a couple of years of development time, just like a couple of these other players. But I think towards the tail end of the Crosby Malkin era, they're going to be able to bring in Liam Ruck to help bring in that new generation of players. It's not a bad pickup here from the Penguins as they are able to get Liam Ruck. So like I said, I do really wonder if the Mammoth and the Penguins hook up on some sort of a deal to get the other Ruck brother in Pittsburgh because the Mammoth are now on the clock. So very interesting to note there. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening. If the Mammoth and the Penguins don't do anything and he falls, do the Canucks try and take Marcus Ruck with 24th overall? I do wonder if that's a possibility. So it'll be very interesting to note there. So let's see what happening here. Doesn't seem like there's very much other things happening at this point in time. But it does seem like Marchenko and Werenski still want out of Columbus. So very interesting to note there. We shall see exactly what is happening here. Once again, we're in a commercial break, so you guys are not missing a thing. So very interesting to note there. I do wonder what you guys think could be some more big trades we could see either tonight or tomorrow morning and throughout tomorrow. Once again, we've seen some interesting trades here today. Probably not going to talk about any of the pick-for-pick swaps tomorrow because after the second round live stream, I'm probably going to do a couple of small videos talking about all the trades that went down earlier today and tomorrow. I'm probably not going to do anything with the pick-for-pick swaps because we don't really know anything about those ones yet. But I'll probably talk about the Peterka deal tomorrow. I'll talk in depth about the Dorofiev deal tomorrow. I'll talk in depth about the McTavish deal tomorrow, some of the earlier trades, the smaller ones we saw, probably some of the signings we saw from over the past couple of days. So I'll probably talk about all those things in a couple of separate videos tomorrow on Saturday. So very interesting to note there. Once again, we're in a commercial break, so you're not missing anything. Once again, it's been very, very interesting so far between the Utah Mammoth and for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They just took Liam Ruck, and we'll see if they want to take someone else. So very interesting to note that there. Let's see here, guys. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if we can get some things going here. Hold on a minute here, just trying to see some things really quickly. We're just getting back from the commercial break, so you guys are not missing a thing. So that's very interesting stuff there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, it looks like it is going there. Once again, it will be interesting to see if the Ruck brothers do go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Once again, it just makes a ton of sense for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think they may have an early second round pick, so if they're doing some sort of pick swap, that's a possibility. Let's see if the Sens make a move here. Let's see. Once again, on the broadcast, they're talking about Ottawa maybe making a trade. Once again, they have pick 25. There's been a lot of talk about them moving pick 25 for some sort of immediate help. So I do wonder if they do that. They can't move pick 32 as conditions of the picking back to them after they had the pick fortified. So I do wonder what happens there. Once again, we've seen a couple of recent pick swaps with Utah and LA making a pick swap, and San Jose and Philadelphia making a pick swap. We saw McTavish go to St. Louis. We saw Dorofiev go to New York R. We saw the Boston Bruins acquire Peterka, so we'll see exactly what ends up happening here. Let's see here, folks. Just give me one quick second. Just trying to see if we're up here. So once again, it still says a minute left on the clock right now for the Utah Mammoth. We'll see if there is a trade here for the Mammoth and the Penguins. So we shall see what ends up happening here. Once again, minute left here in the break. So we shall see what ends up happening. So it will be very interesting to see there who ends up going 23rd overall. Is it Utah or is there some sort of trade here? Let's see. Hold on. Let's see exactly what ends up happening here. Once again, like I said, this is the sort of picks where I could see some picks wind up being dealt. Philadelphia's got pick 27, so probably not them, and probably not Vancouver. But I could see the Mammoth deal pick 23, the Sens deal pick 25, the Knights deal pick 26, the Ducks deal pick 29. There is a trade being announced here between the Mammoth. It looks like. Yep, a trade alert here for the Mammoth. Let's see. Let's see what this trade is. Hold on a minute here, guys. Let's see. We have a trade. The Utah Mammoth trade 23rd to the Red Wings for Costa? What? Okay, that's an interesting deal. Costa, I don't think, is that big. Okay, well, it's an interesting pick trade here. Red Wings are on the clock. They now have pick 23. That seems like a drastic overpayment, in my opinion. They were looking for a second-round pick for Casa. So, interesting to know there. That's a win and a half for the Detroit Red Wings. So, I wonder if they take Marcus Ruck here with the 23rd overall pick. Maybe try and take the other Ruck brother. Let's see. Once again, that's a little bit of an overpayment, in my opinion. I wonder if they have something big in store. But once again, they needed a backup. I think Costa can be a decent backup next year for Utah, but that seems like a steep asking price, man. Let's see here. We're going to switch this over to Detroit. I have a feeling this is going to go quite quickly because most likely they have an idea in store for who they're going to take here. So let's see. Once again here, let's see Detroit. So Detroit's here on the clock now. So they have pick number 23. So interesting. Once again, I do like Costa. I think he's going to be a very good player at the NHL level. I think he has the makings of a solid starter. He was a first-round pick. I think it was like 15th overall a number of years back. So I do think he could be a really decent pickup here for the Utah Mammoth. And like I said, I think he could be the backup this year for Vanelka, maybe in a couple of years' time once Costa is a little bit more accustomed to the NHL. Once they have that young prospect Rabel having a couple of years in the minors, you could have a Costa Rabel tandem. I think that could be a really solid move there for the Mammoth. So not the worst trade in the world, but I definitely think it's an overpayment, and we'll wait to see what the Red Wings have up their sleeves here at number 23 overall. So very interesting to note there. Once again, I'll see how things are going after the next 25 minutes to see if I'll stay on for the last tiny few things or if I'll go off. Once again, I will have to get some things ready for tomorrow's live stream at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time. So, like I said, if we get to pick 28, pick 29, and it's like 8:30ish, 8:45ish Mountain Time, I will probably sign off. So we'll see how things go, but for the time being, I'm going to stay on at least for the next little bit. We'll see what Detroit has up their sleeves here at pick 23. So very interesting to note there. Let's see exactly what they have. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Once again, Wings have 45 seconds left on the trade call. We'll see what ends up happening here. I thought it could have been for, when you said the Detroit, Marshall, I thought it could have been for Dylan Larkin, but apparently not. So, once again, it'll be interesting to see if Larkin gets dealt today or tomorrow. Once again, there's been a lot of talk about Larkin over the past little bit. He's number one on my trade bait board, so I do wonder if he ends up getting dealt at some point here. It seems like the pick is in for the Detroit Red Wings, so they know who they're going to select here with pick number 23. And let's see who they wind up selecting here at 23rd. The Red Wings, with the 23rd selection, take... Let's see here. Kamloops. It is. It's JP Hurlbert. Okay, so they take Hurlbert, who's a left winger. Not a bad pickup here for the Red Wings. I had him mocked, I think, to Ottawa at 25th in my last mock draft. So a guy who, in my opinion, in my mock drafts, has recently come up a little bit. So not a bad pickup here for the Wings. He's 6 feet. He's 183 pounds. He had 42 goals and 97 points in 68 WHL games. So very interesting to note there. Not a bad pickup here for the Wings. I do think eventually he could be a decent right winger there for the Red Wings. Maybe playing on like the second line for the Red Wings. Once again, not sure how that team's going to look in the future with the future up in the air with Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat. But I think he'd be a really decent guy. More of a playmaker, but I think he really fit well in that top six, maybe working well with guys like Lucas Raymond and with guys like Nate Danielson maybe eventually. So not a bad pickup here for the Wings. And they are going to be selecting him. So now we got 24th overall, and this is where it gets interesting because the Canucks have been mentioned to be having some serious interest in the Ruck brothers. So I do wonder if there's maybe a trade here involving the Pittsburgh Penguins. If they don't want the Ruck brother and they go someone else on the block here at 24th overall, do the Senators try and trade the pick to Pittsburgh and try and get Raquel or Russ maybe from the Pittsburgh Penguins? That's interesting because there's been a lot of talk about the Senators moving pick 25. So it'll be very interesting to note there. Pick 24 is now on the clock. It is the Canucks. So let's see if I can find the Canucks here. Just give me one quick sec here, folks. I think the Canucks are right here. I think, yes. Okay, so the Canucks are now on the clock. With pick number 24, it will be very interesting to see what ends up happening here for the Canucks. I'm just going to switch some things up here too. Let's see. So the Sharks got Lynn. The Penguins got left, or was it right winger? Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. I just want to double check something here, folks. Just give me one quick second here. I'll be right there, and then we'll be discussing some more things. Hold on here, folks. Let's see if we do have some things here. I just want to double check something really quickly. So just give me one quick second. I'm just going to try and fix some things up here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Yeah, okay, right winger. So yeah, so very interesting to know there for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they got Ruck. So Pittsburgh got right winger Liam, or that one, Ruck. So really good stuff there for the Penguins. Dang it, did it again. Hit E instead of W. So Penguins got right winger Liam Ruck. And then the Mammoth traded to Detroit, and Detroit took pick J.P. Hurlburt. So I really saw a pickup here for the Detroit Red Wings as they take Hurlburt. So not a bad pickup here for Detroit. So very good stuff there. Hurlburt is a left winger, so I got to put that in there too. Left winger, so really good stuff there. So that should be good for now. So Pittsburgh's got Ruck. Detroit's got Hurlburt. So now we got pick 24 for the Canucks, pick 25 for the Senators, pick 26 for the Knights, 27 for the Flyers, 28 for the Habs, 29 for the Ducks, 30 for the Flames, and 31 for the Senators. So I have to readjust things here, folks. So just give me one quick minute here. I just have to resize everything to make sure everything is able to fit. So that should be good. It's going to be a little bit smaller. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if I can find the middle portion here. Make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay. So yes, that should be a little bit bigger. So that should be a little bit better. Okay, so there, I fixed that. So that should be good. Now the Canucks are on the clock with pick number 24. So once again, it'll be very interesting to note there. Yeah, I know. I don't know exactly where Hurlburt's going, but definitely it does sound like he's going to college. So very interesting to note there. Once again, he's talking to some of the reporters on the feed right now. So very interesting to note there. Like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Canucks wind up doing here at pick number 24. Do they trade to Pittsburgh so the Penguins can take the other Ruck twin? Do they go after someone else who's not a Ruck? Once again, they have had some interest in the Ruck brothers. So it'll be very interesting to note there. Let's see here. So once again, some of the best players available here. You got Novotny, who's actually been falling a little bit here. I had him a little bit higher. I got Villeneuve, who's also been falling a little bit. If you're looking for the defenseman, you got Blell, you got Hackinson. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks might have taken a Blell or Hackinson or a Villeneuve. I could see him go after a defenseman here. Could really help them on that team. Maybe they go after the other Ruck brother. Maybe they go after a guy like Novotny. It'd be very interesting to see who they wind up going after here. Maybe Piparainen, who's another one of the top-end defensive prospects here left on the draft board. So it'll be very interesting to see there. Let's see if there's any other big updates here. Detroit trades Costa to Utah. Yeah, so very interesting to know there. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Trying to see if there's any sort of big updates here. Let's see if the Sens do end up making some sort of move for pick 25. Yeah, so pick 25, pick 26, and pick 29 are the ones I'm going to be looking for potential trade options here. It looks like the pick is not in yet, or maybe it is. The Canucks pick is in. Okay, so they are going to be selecting pick 24. Do they try and break up the Ruck brothers? Do they try and go after Novotny, maybe one of the better defensemen in this year's draft? So let's see who the Canucks go after here. The Senators are now going to be on the clock, so we'll see what they wind up doing here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Looks like they're just about to announce the pick. So good stuff there. Hold on a minute here, folks. And let's see. Ottawa's here. So Ottawa's about to be on the trade block or on the draft board. And they got pick number 25. So very interesting to note there. Let's see who the Canucks might have taken. Hold on a minute here, folks. And at pick 25, let's see who they wind up taking. Well, it was pick 24. Let's see who the Canucks might have taken. They're just showing some things for the Vancouver Canucks. The Senators are going to be very interesting to see what winds up happening here. Once again, as a Senators fan, I do want to see them maybe try and move this first round pick. Once again, they cannot do anything with the 32nd overall pick, so they're going to get a pick in a couple of draft picks time. So I do wonder what they go after here. So once again, they're just showing some of the Canucks stuff, and we'll see who the Canucks wind up taking here. So let's see who the Canucks wind up taking here. Canucks with the 24th overall selection in the NHL Entry Draft are going to be selecting after Hellebuyck was taken by Detroit. Let's see. Canucks go after. Hold on a minute here, folks. 24th overall pick. They go after. Let's see here. And it looks like it's Adam Novotny. Okay, so Novotny, as you said, Marshall, does go to the Vancouver Canucks. Not a bad pickup here. They went with a center prospect earlier, so winger's not terrible there for the Canucks. They could probably use another winger, especially with all the talks about them moving to Brusque or Besser. So let's really quickly here look at what Novotny might bring for the Vancouver Canucks. Just a really solid pickup here, in my opinion. He was arguably the best player on the draft board left. 6'1", 205 pounds, had 34 goals, 65 points in 58 OHL games, so not a bad pickup there for the Vancouver Canucks. I do think he's going to be a really stellar addition here for Vancouver. So very interesting to note there. I think long-term he has the potential to be a really solid winger, maybe playing with a Malhotra or a Coots on one of their wings. So not a bad pickup here for the Canucks. They are building a pretty dang good forward prospect pool. You got guys like Karamaki still. You got Ratu. You have Malhotra now. You have Novotny now. You have Coots. There's a couple other younger forwards out there. So once again, they already have a pretty dang good defensive prospect, and their forward pool is growing. So not a bad pickup here, for my opinion, for the Canucks. And I do think Novotny is going to be a really solid addition here for the Canucks. So very interesting to note there. Now the Ottawa Senators are on the clock, so there's going to be a very interesting one here. Once again, there's been a lot of talk with them moving pick number 25, so maybe they are able to. We'll have to wait and see. Just give me one quick sec here, folks. Just got to check something. I'll be right back. Just give me 2 seconds. Give me one quick minute here, folks. Hold on a minute here. Just give me 1 quick second. Just got to really quickly check something. So hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see, just gotta double check something here. So you're not missing a thing. Ottawa's now on the clock, and it looks like I am back. So just give me 1 quick second here, folks, and I am back. So once again, appreciate you guys for staying tuned while I went to go and check something there. So once again, we are now in the final quarter of the NHL's first round of the NHL Entry Draft. So once again, I'll probably stay on for the next couple of picks. If we get past probably Anaheim, I might sign off. So I'll probably be with you guys for at least the next 5 picks, depending on how long they take. So it'll be very interesting to note there. I do wonder if Ottawa and Vegas may make some moves. And once again, the Golden Knights are one of my favorite teams. The Senators are one of my favorite teams. So very interesting to note there. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe training with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I could see that be a possibility. Once again, let's see here. I don't see anything happening. Once again, the Sens are on the clock, so we'll see if there's anything here. I could see the Sens maybe trade the pick 25 to Pittsburgh to try and give the Senators to try and give the Pittsburgh Penguins the first-round pick to get the other Ruck brother. I could see in your opinion, Marshall, I could see the Penguins do trade with the Carolina Hurricanes too. Carolina is very notorious for trading out of the first round and getting more extra picks. So I do wonder if they do something like that here. That's a possibility. Once again, there's been talks all day over the past couple of days too about the Senators moving pick number 25. So once again, there's been a lot of talk of them having interest in some Canucks players like the Rusk, like Besser, like some Penguins players like Rust, like Raquel, maybe a guy like Marchenko. There's been some very interesting guys who have been linked to the Ottawa Senators. Jason Robertson, although that seems like a very thought tough situation to really figure out right now. So it'll be very interesting to see what winds up happening here. They have a minute left to decide if they're going to draft someone or if they're going to wind up moving that pick. So I do wonder what they do here. Remember, this is the other pick they got in the Brady Tkachuk trade. Remember, they used the 9th overall to get William Eklund. We'll see if they use the 25th overall pick or maybe do something else. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Once again, I could see him maybe draft like a solid forward prospect. They already have enough defensemen, especially after taking Hensler last year. I don't think they need another defenseman, but I could see him taking a forward prospect here, maybe someone on the center group. I could see him take Preston. Preston will be an interesting one. I could see him take Rogowski, who's got some very big size on him. I could see him take Hextall, maybe Shilov. Maybe Nordmark or Cali. I could see those guys be a possibility as well. I could see him still trade this pick. So we'll see what ends up happening here. They got 6 seconds left. We'll see if they wind up picking someone or if they wind up trading it. So let's see what the Ottawa Senators do here. Once again, the clock is down to zeros. Let's see if they use the pick or not. Hold on a minute here, folks. Maybe they try and draft someone and use someone who's now a little bit more expendable after they draft someone to make a trade in another point. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Once again, let's see what ends up happening. Not bad draft so far from any of these teams. It's not said that the pick is in yet. Let's see if that says it. Maybe there's a trade coming here. Once again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen here. There's been a lot of talk about Ottawa moving pick 25 for some forward help. Yeah, the clock's gone all to zeros, and there's been no announcement yet. So I do wonder if there's maybe a trade coming through here, or it's just taking a little bit longer to get the graphic up. Let's see here what the Ottawa Senators are planning on doing. Once again, if they're able to acquire like a solid top 6 forward, I would be ecstatic. Let's see here. It looks like there might be. Oh, no, the pick is in. Okay, so the Ottawa Senators are using this pick. Okay, so we'll see what the Ottawa Senators use it on. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see who the Senators use this pick on. With the 25th overall pick in the 2026 draft, the Sens select. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. The Sens select from Sweden. Who does that make? Let's see. Jonas Lagerberg Hohen. That's not a guy who I was expecting to go first round. Interesting pickup here from Ottawa, as they do not move 25th overall and take a guy who I think was a little bit lower ranked. Let's see if I can find him. He was actually projected a couple of mock drafts to go in the 3rd round. So he's 6'2", 190-pound right winger, so a little bit more of a power forward type guy. Put up 9 goals and 16 points in 9 USHL U20 SHL games. So very interesting to note there. That's a very interesting pickup here for the Senators. I thought they would have probably traded that pick, but they go for this guy here. So not a bad pickup here. So very interesting Ottawa, but they do end up keeping that pick and they select at 25th overall. So very interesting note there. Now on the clock is the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's see what the Golden Knights have in store here at pick 26 at this point. Let's see. Do they try and trade this pick to try and move it somewhere else? Vegas has been very notorious for not taking anyone in round 1. So let's see if they keep that up to here. Vegas is now on the clock with pick number 26. So let's hold on a minute here, folks. I'm going to try and do this. Try and update a little bit as we wait. So yeah, very interesting note there. The Senators made that sort of a splash. So the Canucks acquired winger Adam Novotny. Solid pickup there. And then the Senators used their 25th overall pick to select J.L. Hohen. So not a bad pickup here. Right winger J. L. Hohen. It's not a bad pickup there for the Ottawa Senators. Once again, the Knights are on the clock. Then it'll be Philadelphia, Montreal, Anaheim, Calgary, Carolina, and Ottawa. So very interesting to note there. Once again, we are just about to reach the 3.5 hour mark of our live stream, and we're just about to enter in 6 minutes the 3.5 hour mark since the draft started. So very interesting to note there. I do wonder what's going to happen here for this pick at pick 26. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening here. Once again, I'll be with you guys for the next couple of picks, and then we'll probably sign off with like 3 or 4 picks left. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Once again, they're just recapping some of the other things. Let's see what else happens. Once again, I expect a couple more big trades to happen tomorrow too. So I do wonder what winds up happening tomorrow. Let's see. Let's see what else winds up happening here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Once again, we're just waiting to see who the Knights pick. Their time clock is going down, but maybe we see a trade. We'll have to wait and see. 2, 1, the time clock is done. And let's see if Vegas did actually use a first-round pick for the first time in forever. Let's see what ends up happening here. Once again, they moved Orofiev to get this pick, so it'll be interesting to see what they wind up doing with it. And once again, if you guys are just joining in, 8:45 a.m. tomorrow, I will be live for round day 2 of the NHL Draft. So if you guys are able to tune in for that one, it'll be a very interesting one nonetheless. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. Let's see what else is going to be happening here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. Once again, just like with the Ottawa pick, it's taking a little bit of time to announce that the pick is in. I wonder if there's a trade here, or if they don't, let's see exactly what winds up happening. Yeah, that's what I'm expecting too, Marshall. I think there's a trade here. Once again, it's Vegas, so you'd expect it. They don't trade in the first round, so let's see exactly what winds up happening here. There is a trade here. Let's see what the Golden Knights and the Habs are doing. Let's see. Here's the trade. Let's see. The trade is the Golden Knights trade pick number 26 to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for pick 28 in this year's draft and Montreal third rounder. So they use the third rounder in 2027 and 28 for 26. Just a little bit of a pick swap here. So the Habs are now going to be the team on the clock. So very interesting note there. Vegas moves 2 picks down. So we'll see if Vegas has anything interesting at pick 28. But Montreal is going to be on the clock. I have a feeling they have an idea of who they want to select here. Let's go to Montreal now. So let's see here. The Montreal Canadiens, I think, are here somewhere. Let's see. Boston, Buffalo, Detroit, Florida, Montreal. So I got Montreal here at pick 26 now. So we'll see what they wind up doing here with their first round pick. I should actually change some things up here to move Montreal and Vegas around. So this is now Knights. This is now the Knights at 28. And the Habs are now at 26. So that's interesting to note there. Habs 26, Flyers 27, Knights 28, Ducks 29, Flames 30, Canes 31, and Sens 32. So very interesting to note there. Okay, so that's all pretty good. So very interesting to note there. Once again, I do appreciate all your guys' support. Yeah, I do agree. Sharks win the draft tonight. I think they getting 2 top 4 right shot defensive prospects and a guy who's going to play in your top 6 as early as next year is just absolutely insane. So, yeah, I think the Sharks probably win this draft. St. Louis, I don't think make it out too bad either, moving a couple of their first-round picks to get McTavish and then getting Dagna and Lawrence. I think they actually made out pretty well. Buffalo getting... who did they get at 20th overall? Morozov and getting Rudolph, I think, is pretty good there for the Sabres. The Kraken getting Reid, having him fall to him, arguably being the best prospect, arguably in this year's draft. That's really good stuff there. McKenna going first overall to Toronto. I agree, Marshall. That's another win in of itself. Once again, Bjorck going to Winnipeg. I think that's going to be a pretty good pick up there for the Jets. Getting him at 8th overall. I think the Jets are pretty good, make out pretty good tonight. The Mammoth, once again, I don't think it was great moves, but getting Belchitz at 17th overall and then getting Costa, I don't think it's a terrible pickup there for the Mammoth. The Caps, I don't think made out too badly either. But yeah, I think out of all those teams who actually did pretty good in this draft, San Jose just did way better than everyone else. So like some really good stuff there from the San Jose Sharks. We are just past the 3.5 hour mark of the entire draft thing. So I'll probably stay with you guys for the next 3 to 4 picks, and then I'll probably sign off. So we'll see how long it takes for these picks to end up being announced. It looks like Gary Bettman, I think, is going there to the podium. Let's see if the pick is in for the Montreal Canadiens. So let's see who the Habs wind up selecting here at 26. Pick is in, so let's see who the Habs go after here. Montreal with pick 26. Philadelphia's going to be on the clock next. So let's see what winds up happening here first with Montreal. And the Montreal Canadiens with the 26th selection in the draft go after, let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. The Montreal Canadiens select Gleb Pugachev. Pugachev. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that name correctly, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but Gleb Pugachev. Gleb Pugachev. So very interesting to note there. Once again, very interesting to note there. Let's see. Once again, just looking at some of the recent mock drafts and seeing where he's been ranked. Once again, the Ottawa Senators are way off the board with their pick. Pugachev actually was supposed to be a projected second-round pick, so not an overly huge reach here for the Habs. 6'3", 198 pounds. He played in the VHL last year, putting up a goal and 5 points in 13 games. Also playing the KHL, putting up in 13 games, 2 goals and 3 points. So not bad stats. 5 points in 14 lower end games and 3 points in 13 higher end games. Not terrible. Once again, the Habs over the past couple of years have started to take a couple of Russian prospects. Zarhovsky last year. They took Demidov a couple of years ago. So once again, not a bad pickup there from the Montreal Canadiens. I do think he could turn into a really solid winger there for the Montreal Canadiens. So interesting note there, but Pugachev has gone over to the Montreal Canadiens. So very interesting to note there. We will change that up. We'll also change this up. Philadelphia's now got pick number 27. So very interesting to note there. The Habs use that pick to select right winger Gleb Pugachev. So hold on a minute here, folks. Let me double check I'm spelling that name right. Let's see, Pugachyov. Yep, okay. So that's good. So that's the Montreal Canadiens pick. So that's very good stuff there for the Habs as they get right winger. Obviously, they didn't think he was going to survive the next couple of rounds, so they trade up and trade a third-round pick to get him. So a little bit of a confusing move there for Montreal because I don't think he was going to get taken by Philadelphia or by Vegas, but interesting to note there. We'll see what ends up happening here. We've got pick 27 and then pick 28. And like I said, I'll stay here until the Anaheim Ducks pick, and then I'll probably sign off, and we'll talk about the other 3 picks tomorrow morning. So like I said, I'm not going to do any sort of other videos tonight. I'm going to have a live stream tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for day 2 of the NHL's Entry Draft. So very interesting to note there. And then, of course, I'll have videos later on in the evening talking about all the trades that happened earlier today and tomorrow. So hope you guys are able to tune in for all those videos that are going to be coming out in the very near future. Hope you guys are able to stay tuned for them. Once again, we'll probably have some more off-season content on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we've got our live stream for NHL free agency. Probably not going to be an overly big NHL free agency this year, but going to be some very interesting ones. So let's see exactly what ends up finishing off here with the first round of the NHL's entry draft. So very interesting to note there. Let's see. We definitely have some very interesting ones here. Philadelphia Flyers are on the clock right now. It looks like the pick is being announced right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's see who the Philadelphia Flyers wind up selecting here. I don't know exactly who the Flyers are going to go after here. They probably could go after a couple of different ones. Imagine them take Marcus Ruck and you have the Ruck brothers on the each side of Pennsylvania battle. That would just be interesting. Let's see. The Philadelphia Flyers with the 27th overall pick select. Let's see. How many here, folks? From London, so it's not one of the Ruck brothers. They take Maxime Sokolovsky. Maxime Sokolovsky. So that's another guy who I was not really expecting to go first round. Let's see what some of the other things have been saying about him. Hold on a minute here, folks. Wow. So I will be covering Marshall, the third round and the fourth round and the second round tomorrow. So I will be seeing what the Caps do tomorrow. So if you want to stay tuned, I hope you guys do. But yeah, I will probably be talking about that when it happens. Once again, the second round always goes a lot quicker, and the third round, the fourth round. So very interesting over there. Let's see if we can find him here. Yes, Maxime Sokolovsky was a 6'8", 238-pound defenseman. That is a scary defenseman there for the Philadelphia Flyers. Once again, he had 2 goals and 8 points in 44 games. Going to need a little bit of development time, but when he arrives in the NHL, he's going to be a beast to play against. You got Ristolainen, at least for another year. You got Sanheim on that defense. You got Bjorck. You got a couple of other younger guys coming up into that defensive core. Now you got Sokolovsky. So a really solid pickup here for the Philadelphia Flyers as they are able to take Sokolovsky with the 27th overall pick. So very interesting note there. Thank you for your support, Marshall. I really do appreciate it. Once again, if you can tune in, just really appreciate it. So once again, we'll see how tomorrow winds up going. Let's see. They just gave Sokolovsky his jersey, and now Vegas is back on the clock at pick 28. So once again, I'll be with you guys for the next couple of picks, and then I'll probably sign off. I've got some things to work out, so we can do it again here tomorrow. So very interesting to note there. Let's see what everything is looking like here. So pick 28 is the Golden Knights. So I gotta find the Vegas again. I think that's them. Yes, it is. Okay, so Vegas is now on the clock after Sokolovsky went to the Philadelphia Flyers. So very interesting to note there. So 28 overall is the Vegas Golden Knights after the Sokolovsky pick. So very interesting note there. I'll put that on my little thing here. Once again, let's see. Flyers. They go after, let's see, Maxime Sokolovsky. So very interesting to know there. He is a left shot defenseman. Maxime Soko. Let's see here. Lovskii. Once again, a behemoth of a defenseman there on the blue line there for the Philadelphia Flyers. There's only a couple of picks left here in this NHL entry draft. So very interesting to note there. We'll see who ends up going next. The Golden Knights are once again on the clock. Do they pick someone with the late first round pick they have, or do they try and make some sort of other trade? So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening here. Vegas, Anaheim, Calgary, Carolina, Ottawa. So there's 5 picks left here in the NHL entry draft. Like I said, I'll be with you guys for the next 2, and then I'll probably sign off. So like I said, guys, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If we can hit 725 subscribers by tomorrow's draft, that would be great. So if you guys can, definitely leave a subscribe down below. I'd love to get your thoughts. Leave a comment and subscribe down below. Like the video and leave a comment down below. Let you guys thoughts on all that was discussed here today. Like I said, we're gonna have a live stream tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time. A live stream on Wednesday. I'll announce the time tomorrow on that live stream. So probably going to be for a couple of hours, but I will be doing a free agency live stream. Going to have more videos coming out tomorrow. We're going to have some recaps to some trades and some signings from our past couple of days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have some more off-season content. And then on Wednesday, we got free agency. Going to have some more very interesting news and stuff that happens towards the end of towards the middle of July. And then, of course, towards the end of July and the middle of August, it starts to get a little bit slower. But there's going to be some more news. We're going to have some other things coming out. So it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of the next couple of months go. But we are still a couple of picks away here from finishing things off tonight. So very interesting to note there. Once again, we got Calgary, Carolina, and Ottawa after Anaheim and Vegas. So we'll talk about those 3 picks tomorrow. when we come back on for tomorrow's live stream. So very interesting to note there. Let's change some things up a little bit here. So once again, it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening. Let's see what they all are planning on doing right now. They're just talking. Once again, the Golden Knights are on the clock right now. So very interesting to know there. It will be interesting to see what ends up happening here. Let's see, 35 seconds left here for the Golden Knights on the clock here. So once again, like I said, for my future videos, I will be having some updates regarding player trades that happen today and tomorrow, as well as some other things like signings that happened as well. So I will be having a couple of videos tomorrow out, so I hope you guys are all able to tune in for those ones. And then, like we said, we're going to have updates regarding trades when they come out, signings over Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're going to try and get some updates when it comes to qualifying offers. The last little bit of the buyout period is going to be coming up. Once again, I'm going to have news and rumor videos throughout that little time frame. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be back here for free agency. So, like I said, hope you guys are able to tune in for tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time. And then I hope you guys are able to tune in on Wednesday, as we do have some very interesting things happening. So, very interesting to know there. Looks like there is a trade in place here for the Golden Knights again. So we'll see what they are winding up hooking up on here. Let's see, trade alert here for the Golden Knights and the Anaheim Ducks. Let's see if this is another pick swap for Vegas or if they are making some sort of an actual trade. So we'll see what winds up happening here. The Golden Knights are, let's see, hold on a minute here, folks. I forgot to turn on captioning again. Let's see. This year's draft. Vegas sends 28 to Anaheim for 29 and 117 overall. So Vegas is trading down the draft and waiting to select something. So maybe they're having some sort of a trade discussion and they just want to continue to wait it out. Maybe they just don't like taking first round picks. Once again, they take an extra pick in this year's draft. So 29 and 117th for 28th. It's not a bad pick up there for the Golden Knights. And now it's going to be the Anaheim Ducks who are on the clock to try and get something on here. So the Ducks are now back on the clock at pick number 28. I have a feeling they know who they're going after here. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Yeah, it's just another pick swap here. So very interesting to know there. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. So once again, 2 minutes left on the clock here for the Anaheim Ducks. And we'll see if the Anaheim Ducks pick is probably going to be in the very near future. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I do appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Like I was saying, so we're going to have a couple of trade update videos tomorrow regarding trades that happened with players today and tomorrow. So we're going to have those sorts of videos out tomorrow. We're also going to have a couple of signing videos out, some short form, some in just short video form. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for those ones. On top of that, we're going to have trade update videos, signing update videos, big pieces of news videos out on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The end of the buyout period is very close to nearing. We haven't even had a buyout so far this offseason. The qualifying offers have to be in, I think, June 29th or June 30th at, I think it was 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's going to be happening in the very near future. We've also got some... on top of that, we've also got trade rumors to talk about. So those are going to be coming on the very near future. Wednesday, we've got the live stream coming out. So I'll announce the time for the live stream on Wednesday at tomorrow's live stream. And I hope you guys are able to tune in for 8:45 a.m. for tomorrow's live stream. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. The Anaheim Ducks select from Sweden, Marcus. Let's see, Nordmark. So yeah, this was actually a guy I was looking at here. He was projected to go early second round. So not a bad pickup here for the Anaheim Ducks. Nordmark is a 6'2", 187-pound left winger. So they acquired Klepov earlier, and now they've got Nordmark. So they're getting some big wingers. So those are going to be some players that are going to be pretty hard to play against. He played in 25 U20 national team development program, U20 national SHL games, putting up 14 goals and 38 points in 25 games. So he did really good in the U20 system. So not a bad pickup here for the Anaheim Ducks, and he's going to be going to the Ducks. So a really solid pickup there for the Ducks. Now we've got Vegas, and then we're going to have Calgary, Carolina, and Ottawa. So we'll see what winds up happening here. If Vegas is going to be on the clock yet again. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Once again, let's see if there's any sort of big pieces of news here. Let's see. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see if we can find some things here. I don't think there's anything it looks like that is being talked about right now. Once again, like I said, day two is always a lot more busier when it comes to trades and things like that. And we actually had some pretty dang good trades here tonight. So I do expect some more fireworks. Do we see Larkin dealt tomorrow? Trocheck? What about Marchenko? Does Werenski get dealt? So there's going to be some fireworks I expect tomorrow. We're not going to have any first round picks to trade for this year's draft, but there's going to be some trades, some picks to be traded for next year's draft and things like that. So very interesting to note there. Let's see here. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's see. It'll be very interesting to see what winds up going here. Yeah, I could see Washington get Marchenko. Once again, I don't know if they can price in his $11 million ask, which is what it sounds like he wants, or $10 million ask. I think it'll work out really well on the Caps side. Once again, they have a lot of right wingers, but they could use a left winger. So I don't know if if the Jackets would A, want to trade him in division, and B, if the Capitals would have enough money and assets and things like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening with Marchenko for sure. I could see him get dealt tomorrow with him not wanting to sign an extension in Columbus. So it will be a very interesting day tomorrow. Like I said, we've got the live stream 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time. We've got some more trade updates, signing update videos. I got some more my reactions to those trades and signings from today and tomorrow that are going to be happening tomorrow. So very interesting to note there. We also going to have, like we said, trade update videos, signing update videos, trade rumors, and then of course updates when it comes to qualifying offers and the buyout period on Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday we're going to have the live stream. We're going to have some more updates when it comes to players signing places. So hope you guys are able to tune in for those ones. But definitely some very interesting moves coming out in the very near future. So very interesting to know there. And like I said, I'm thankful that you guys are able to tune in tonight and make this a really good live stream. I do appreciate all of my conversations I have with you guys here. The Golden Knights pick is in, so this is going to probably be my last pick here that I'm going to call, and then we're going to call it quits. So Vegas with the pick here at pick 29, and the Golden Knights select. They actually use a first-round pick for once. They take, let's see here, Juho Piparainen, right shot defenseman. Not a bad pickup here, for my opinion. Once again, there's been some mock drafts that have been mocking him as an early second rounder. I had him as a late first rounder, so this is sort of where I was expecting him to go. Not a bad pickup here. Once again, Piparainen's a pretty solid player here. I do think he could be a really solid steal of a deal for the Golden Knights. Once again, very interesting to note there. Let's see. Piparainen is a right shot defenseman, 6'3", 203 pounds. So a really solid mobile defenseman. Had 1 goal and 13 points in 15 U20 Liga games. So it's not looking bad. I do think Piparainen is going to be a really solid right shot defenseman here if he doesn't get traded at some point in the next year or two by Vegas. I think we're round down to a really solid top 4 right shot defenseman. Maybe he could eventually be the Rasmus Anderson replacement because I don't think they're going to bring back Anderson. So I do think Piparainen could be a really solid pickup here for the Golden Knights. And once again, it does hurt to lose Pavel Dorofeev, but getting Piparainen is not a half bad consolation prize. So very interesting note there. I'll put these things in here. Just to finish up this draft here. And like I said, I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for round 2 through 4 of the NHL Entry Draft. So once again, I hope you guys are able to tune in for tomorrow's draft. So very interesting to note there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let me just get this finished up. Left winger Marcus Nordmark for the Ducks. And then it was right winger right shot defenseman Juho Piparainen for the Golden Knights. So very interesting to know there. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's just double check. Yep. Piparainen. So good stuff there. And like I said, not half bad there for the Golden Knights and the Ducks getting those 2 players. And so that's what I'm going to call it here. Just give me one quick sec. I'll just change it here while I go away just in case something does happen. Let's see if it's Anaheim. I think this is Calgary. Yes, it is. Okay. So the Flames will now be on the clock with pick number 30. So very interesting to know there. So once again, this draft did go a little bit quicker. I was able to stay on a little bit longer with you guys, but unfortunately, I do have to go at this point in time. So once again, I'll be back on a live stream tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. Mountain Time for rounds 2 through 4 of the NHL Entry Draft. So I hope you guys are able to tune in for that one. On top of that, we do have a couple of other very interesting videos coming out tomorrow. We're going to be doing some recaps on some trades with some players involved that happened today and tomorrow. So if you guys are able to tune in for those ones, we're going to have some in the short form, some in long form, as well as some signing updates. And then we're also going to have a couple of signing update videos, trade rumor videos, trade update videos coming out on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as well as updates regarding what happens with qualifying offers and if there are any buyouts. And then on Wednesday morning, we will have a live stream for free agency. So we're going to be doing another live stream on Free Agency Day. I'll announce the times tomorrow, so I hope you guys are able to tune in for those ones. But I thank you guys all for your support. I really do appreciate it. And if you're just leaving, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a like on the video. Tell your friends the best hockey content on YouTube is right here. I'll be right back here with you guys tomorrow morning for round 2 of the NHL Entry Draft and day 2 of the NHL Entry Draft. So very interesting to note there, but we are back here. So I do thank you for all of your support, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. God bless you all, and I'll see you all in the next one.